gather from the way you speak about it.
That's a
Why did that start playing? Are we live? Hey,
Yeah.
when I clicked live, that started playing. That's interesting. I did not know it would do that.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's cool, guys, because now I know I can just start a movie. Interesting. It always sucks that I find this stuff out right when at the beginning of a live stream, and then like it looks like I have no clue what I'm doing, which is kind of true. So that's kind of funny. Anyway, all right, guys, how's everyone doing out there? Don't know if anyone noticed, but there's a huge push in the world of Islam, al-Islam, to defend child marriage. To defend
Oh my
child
God.
marriage. Why is this a problem, IP? Oh, just so everyone knows, IP has a meeting he has to go to. He can only be here at the beginning, and then AP, who also pees, he no, yeah, it'll be a normal crew. But I did want to get Inspiring Philosophy on here, even if he can only be here for a little bit, because you've been challenging Sneako to a debate on child marriage. Why would that be an important issue for you to?
I don't know. I've
debate
been
Sneako
trying
on?
to. He called out Alex Jones on Age of Consent and said he want to have a debate with Alex Jones on it. And I'm like, oh, you like to debate this stuff now? Fine. Let's have a debate on child marriage and age of consent. I'll argue the age of consent should be 18. And I actually just had a debate yesterday on Instagram Live. It's still on my Instagram page if people want to see it, with another Muslim who was arguing for child marriage. Now, this guy was way better than Daniel Akikachu, because he was saying like, yeah, I don't think it should happen today, because he was making that argument that, they used to like mature faster, which is nonsense. And I pointed that out. But at least he was far better in arguing that, girls today shouldn't be going through that. So he mended that at the end. But a lot of similar arguments, just not really good. I mean, like the data is pretty clear how harmful it is. And so, yeah, I'd love to debate Sneako on it and go over all the issues of why age of consent should not be lowered past 18. But I doubt he will get back to me. I don't think he wants to debate anyone who actually has knowledge on this or who has actually studied the research.
Yeah, we're about to go through his debate with. Now, does anyone know, was the Moist Critical? Does anyone know Moist Critical's real name? I feel weird calling someone Moist Critical the entire time. Anyone in the chat know? Huh?
Just call him Moist.
That sounds gross, though. This guy's moist.
MC, call him MC. Let's call him MC.
Sounds like he hasn't had. If you call someone moist, it sounds like he like just ran a marathon or something. He's all like sweaty or something. Look at this.
It sounds like something different to me.
I know it does as well too. I'm trying to ignore that, AP, because it's a good Christian show. You sick freak. We don't say this. Oh wait, Sir Dr. Whitemeat says Charlie. Up. Okay, I wasn't sure whether to believe it, because you don't know if you can always trust Sir Dr. Whitemeat, but everyone's saying Charlie. Okay, Charlie, like Charlie Brown, like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. All right, got his name locked in. Sneako burned that. Does anyone know if Sneako challenged Alex Jones before or after that discussion with Moist Critical? Because he challenged Alex Jones after.
Mm-hmm.
I was just saying that right before we went live. I was saying that he's going to get a boost of confidence from Sneako. I didn't watch the entire thing. I watched like 40 minutes of it. Listened to like 40 minutes of it. But Sneako was just crushing Charlie. And so I was like, oh, he's going to get a confidence boost out of this, and he's going to end up challenging the wrong person on this. So anyway, he was challenging Alex Jones, which Alex Jones might not be the wrong person, because I don't know if Alex Jones knows anything about what the Quran and Hadith say about this issue. But he's going to end up debating the wrong one, who's going to school him. Anyway.
Hope it's me.
Honestly, in all honesty, so first off, Sneako actually crushing someone in a discussion just sounds really bad, and says a lot about the other person. But then the other issue, secondly, is I actually wouldn't. I don't think it would be good to have Sneako and Alex Jones debating, because in that discussion too, Sneako would look like the more reasonable one. So I hope it never takes place.
And you're right, Sneako. I've been pointing this out for years. The water is turning the frogs gay and making the kids mature slower. Something like that. think they'd end up
Yeah.
agreeing on some stuff. All right, so we've got this issue, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to give people like the trajectory here. So here's why Sneako is actually doing this. This is why Sneako has become obsessed with child marriage and defending child marriage. It's not because Sneako just woke up one day and decided to be the champion of child marriage. Muslims have understood. So you go back 20 years, one of their main arguments for Muhammad, for the prophethood of Muhammad, was that he is the greatest moral person who ever lived, right? He's so incredibly moral that he has to be a prophet of God. That's originally why we started bringing up the issue of Muhammad and Aisha. They were claiming that he is proven to be a prophet by his outstanding character. And so we would bring up issues like his having sex with a prepubescent girl. And back then they would just lie about it and say, well, no, that's not what our sources say. And eventually we showed enough people what the sources say that people realized it is in their sources. Then they changed their argument. They changed their response to, oh, yes, there are a few weak hadiths that say this, but there are all these other hadiths that say she was much older than 9. So we challenged them for years, over and over again. Show us one. Show us one. Can you give us one? You saw that. You saw the debate, IP. You saw it was Kenny Bowman. Can you just give me one? Can you give me one source that says what you're saying? Just one. Just one. I just gave you dozens that say she was not. What source do you have? Could not give one. Could not give one. Why? Because they don't have any. So anyway, but back then they were telling the lie that, oh yeah, there are all these other sources. Anyway, get down to now, and they've been forced to acknowledge it. They've been forced to not say that there are all these other sources because they've been exposed on that. So now they're forced to defend it. But keep in mind, they have to defend child marriage now because everyone's blasting them for child marriage. So this is like a very pivotal moment for them because the entire world now is finding out that Muhammad had sex with a 9-year-old girl, which forces them to defend it, or everyone's going to view Muhammad as a pedophile. And so what do we do here? We have to defend it. But, even though Daniel's willing to be like the poster boy for child marriage, and you'll have Muhammad Hijab and Ali Dawan, they'll all toss out little defense. They don't want to be like, that's their main thing is they're just always defending child marriage. They understand they'll look like perverts if all they ever talk about is like defending child marriage. So what do? Here's this nice young guy, Sneako. Will offer him up. Sneako, you become the champion of defending child marriage. You do that. And so they're programming him to be obsessed with this. Problem is he still doesn't know what he's talking about. He still doesn't know what the sources say. He still doesn't know anything about Muhammad. So oopsie, he accidentally condemns Muhammad over and over and over again. And guys, as we go through this little debate clip, you're going to... Well, let's take note of the different times that Sneako accidentally condemns Muhammad because he still doesn't know anything about Muhammad. And I'll probably make a separate video.
You misspelled moist critical in the title of the stream. It's supposed to be CR1T1KAL.
There's no scenario where I'm doing that. His name is Charlie. Matter of fact, I should change the title. Sneako debates Charlie.
Learn to spell.
Sneako debates child marriage versus Charlie. Guy named Charlie. All right, guys. Should we watch a couple minutes of this and then we'll get IP's responses before he has to go, and then me and AP will continue seeing Sneako absolutely destroy his religion without realizing it.
Yep.
Oh, I love our work. It's dope stuff. We got dope stuff. Oh wait, hang on.
So weird. I'm here with a bunch of nerds. Look at this. Look at the screen. It's like the bookshelves, and then behind me it's
what are you doing
just
with all
plain
those books? What are you doing with all those books?
Look at all my books here.
Go through these first couple of super chats real quick before we start. Mojab with urinary tract infection, crimson showers. Wouldn't be golden showers, it would be crimson showers. Let's see. Look at all this manliness, the 3 hunks of Islamophobia. This is getting me critically... What is this? Oh, it's Gay P. Okay, no comments from Gay P. Moist over AP's back. Why is everyone becoming a pervert? This is why you're supposed to keep your mouth shut, AP. This is why you're supposed to keep your mouth shut. This is why I tried to divert it. I was like, oh, it sounds like he's all sweaty.
I just have one question, though. I just searched and couldn't find a quick answer. What in the world is that name? Does anybody know why he is called Moist?
No, and it's better not to ask such questions and just call him Charlie. Don't ask questions.
I shan't ask that anymore.
Sir Dr. Whitemeat says, I'm not trustworthy. If the great Dr. Zuckernick trusts me, why shouldn't you, Dr. Daoud? That is a good point. That is a good point. I take it back. Sir Dr. Whitemeat is extremely trustworthy. Be very careful not to say in a prison line, sorry, can I get a head? What is this? What is all this AP? What is all the AP fans coming over here saying all this perverted stuff? Daniel Hakikachu is happy about Iraq's new law. As far as I know, it's not actually. That was another thing we could have talked about in this. I don't think it's an actual law. I think someone is bringing it up as a law, which it might get.
Right.
It will probably get turned down because of massive embarrassment and so on. So
It should.
yeah. Alhamdulillah Pula.
I think the main point of the law is not the age of marriage, right? It's about something else, about deciding what creed to follow, and then based on that rules of marriage and all that. So there is no idea to directly implement a lower age of marriage, as far as I understand. I haven't read much on it, but that's my understanding from what I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's a situation where various leaders and so on can bring up proposed laws and so on, and I suspect that's going to get shot down. Oh, wait, I forgot to read this. Alhamdulillah Pula, I am witnessing another live stream of the Golden Three. AP, IP, and D Wee Wee. Huh. Love you, sports. Eighth ozone layer. Because I got the 7th ozone layers, yeah. Please make a prison stories channel. I loved your old stream with Kane. I beg you, you are a good storyteller, and prison stories are awesome. I could probably do a live stream just going through prison stories and have enough for a couple years of stories. Oh,
Hello, guys. Let me tell you about what happened to me in prison once again.
OICUP2. It's good. Want to talk about the Torsa Island sometime? A Muslim army tried to buy it and got rejected. Now Calvin Robinson wants to buy it as a Christian sanctuary to keep it out of the Islamist hands. Yeah, I've seen that. That's an interesting project.
Seriously?
Maybe we should ask Calvin Robinson to join us live and talk about all the stuff he's got going on. All right, man. Everyone ready? Let's go ahead and watch a little bit of this, and we'll get IP's responses before he has to leave and go pee.
That's true.
Yeah, so let's talk about what we came to talk about.
Yeah, man. So with all of what's going on here, why are you so insistent on like the age of consent being like unreasonable? Or at least that's the impression I and most people gather from the way you speak about it.
That's a valid question, and I want to first ask, like, what's your issue with my opinion on the age of consent, age of marriage?
That was, guys, I don't know who's training Sneako. Look what he just did there. It's so Moy says, hey, I'm concerned about why you are saying all this stuff, and Sneako flipped it back on him. Why don't you say what your problem is with anything I'm saying, right? He's shifting it back to him. That's smart, man. That's some Greg Kokel tactics stuff right there.
Maybe he's getting training from Mohammed Hijab in return for peeing on him or something. I don't know.
That's the thing. We know he's been interacting with and working with Sheikh Usman, and we've seen him with Ali Dawa and Mohammed Hijab. So he's been working with some of these guys. I have to say, after going through a section of this, he seems better trained than the training he would get from them. In other words, he's someone actually tactically superior to them, I think, is training Sneako here. Because I mean, this guy went from the Book of the Council of Nicaea to like just crushing this guy here. This is crazy.
Because I feel like age of consent should just be an accepted number, and I think the accepted one is 18. Like, regardless of where you talk about in the world, I feel like once you start talking about someone under 18, you're basically just talking like a predator.
Okay,
I feel
pause. I can see it already. What a horribly dumb way to go into the topic. Why did this guy even decide to have this conversation with Sneako? I totally understand why even somebody like Sneako would crush it. This is a terrible way to go.
You saw this from the first couple of seconds?
Yes. What is
clear.
a question? What is a statement even? That's a ridiculously dumb statement that you can already attack and beat to death. It is not. That's not how you argue about the age of consent.
Yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of research into this as to why it is 18, because I was curious when I was researching for my debates on this, and there's many good reasons. I mean, for one thing, it sort of has come about from historical precedents. Like we've just sort of moved to that age over time with trial and error. Like we start to see in the Middle Ages, like Giles of Rome saying that bearing children or making children should be delayed to 18 because the seed of those younger is too weak, was his idea. But we see it in medical research. So like girls complete puberty between 15 and 17. It makes sense that we grant them the age of adulthood the following year. The temporal lobes are developed. Various studies have different ideas, but you'll see it between 14.9 and 17. So the area of the brain that controls sexual behavior is also developing during this time period. So if just from a political standpoint, it just makes sense that the following year, when puberty is complete, when we know the temporal lobes are complete, we have a convergence there in two different areas, that we grant the status of adulthood the following year when we know those processes are finally coming to their completion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So guys, it's like it's one of those. If you look at the age starting at like birth, and you go on throughout a woman's life, it's basically. It starts off like a half bell curve. So it starts off like as far as danger to the girl, it starts off really high. The danger of that girl having sex and all the complications and problems that can arise from that starts off really high. And then as she gets older and older and older, it declines. And so it's somewhere in the ballpark of 18 where these things are way down, right? Like there's still risks. There are always going to be risks if you're having a child and so on, but they're minimized. And later on, you can get some other difficulties that arise once someone gets too old and so on. But the bottom line is rates as far as the mother and the baby. If the girl gets pregnant, if you take 18 as sort of here's a good age. If you go, the further back you go, the more the rates of all these problems for both the mother and the child increase. So you're talking rates of toxemia, sepsis, obstructed and prolonged labor, hemorrhaging, and fistulas all increase. And they increase more and more in other words, it increases a little bit when you go back from 18 to 17, 16, 15. Once you start getting back to like 11, 10, 9, all of a sudden, like, it's extremely dangerous, not just for the mom, because the babies born to young mothers have higher rates of infant mortality, premature birth, and low birth rate. So the idea of why you're settling on some age is basically you have all these dangers to the girls and to their children, and they decline. And when they finally get to a really low point is around 18. So people say, okay, that is a good age because it's dangerous before that age. Is that a correct assessment?
The thing is, you both very, very much explained in detail the reason why the age of consent that we know of exists. To me, it just seems very obvious that this is a total failure from the very start, because what Sneako should do, and maybe he will even do it now, is to start asking this guy, Moist Critical, why the age of 18 and what exactly happens there, why he is so convinced about the age of 18, and he would have to turn it around on him. Mm-hmm. And it looks to me as if Sneako does that, Moist Critical will not will start fumbling and will not know exactly how to justify why the age of 18 is perfect. The thing is, especially if you're familiar with cultures aside from the United States of America, when somebody like Moist Critical sits here and says, it's of course, age of 18 should be the age of consent, and if you are dating somebody who is younger than 18, then you're a creep. This might sound reasonable to somebody who only knows things within the American frame. However, already, if you go out into the Western world, you will see that the age of consent is lower than 18 in different European countries. 18 is the number that we gave by the very good reasoning that you guys just explained, but different European countries have, for example, 17 or 16. Yeah.
So you're oh, go ahead.
The historical precedent as to why we picked 18 had to do with a lot of like when high school ended. So they'd finished all of their primary schooling. What's next? Obviously, adulthood. But I mean, that converges with the modern scientific data we see. So I mean, like the historical reason, it just sort of converges along with the scientific aspects we can see today. So this came about from trial and error of different societies, trying different things, seeing what worked best. And it just so happens to align with a lot of good reasons we have today as to why we set it at 18.
Yeah, and as AP was pointing out what just happened, and as I was going in the same direction with this, this starts off. So they're going to have a debate on child marriage. Why is this even a debate? Why are they having a debate? Because Muhammad, when he was 54 years old, had sex with a prepubescent 9-year-old girl. People have found out about it, they're concerned about it, and they're bringing this up to Muslims. So Muslims want to respond. So these two guys sit down. It looks like they're going to have a debate, and the Muslim is going to have to defend why it's okay for a 54-year-old man to have sex with a 9-year-old girl. Instead, the very first thing, tactically brilliant move from a guy who seems like a tactical dope. That's why he has to be getting trained based on this. And the people he's normally hanging out with are tactical morons. They're doing the dumbest things they possibly can. So someone smart is training Sneako. This is, this is exactly what you should train him on if you want him to defend this point. But what did he do? Moist Critical brings up the issue. Hey, we wanted to talk about child marriage. Sneako instantly shifts the burden of proof to him. You defend your criticisms against my position. And then he instantly went for 18 is the age. And that he just set it up for Sneako to now be on the offensive the entire time, attacking the idea.
Yep.
What's the difference between 18 and 17 and 364 days? What's the difference there? What's the difference? You act like it's some magic number. And then to eventually go into challenging his moral foundations, exposing inconsistencies and hypocrisies. And as far as I've seen, again, I didn't watch the entire thing. The entire time was Critical's on the defensive, right from what happened right there at the beginning. What he should have done is, hey, what he should have done right there is, hey, let me go ahead and say my position. But before that, you go ahead and say your position. What is your position? What is the age of consent? Should there be an age of consent? If so, what should it be? Explain the entire thing, and that way you've got this competition between what their actual positions are. Instead, it's just it's Sneako attacking his position the entire time.
That's the problem. He just from the very beginning, he just handed the whole debate to Sneako. Basically, unless he fixes the direction of this and picks it up and corrects himself and starts tackling it from a better perspective, he totally handed this to him, and he gave Sneako the chance to play the fallacy of distracting to a talking point of 18, which the conversation of child marriage in Islam is not about.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. All right, let's watch some of this.
18 is a pretty well-established number for most sensible people. At 18, you're going to college, you're living your own life now, you're outside of your family nest. Anything under that, you're still a kid.
Okay. It's not 18 in most of the United States where we both live, right?
Yeah, but that refers to like Romeo and Juliet laws, where if you're like 19 and with a 16-year-old, it's not technically illegal, but you're not a 19-year-old, right? So why would you be arguing for like a 16, you know?
This is one of the. He actually made an important point there for how the Dawa guys are going. They're saying, but you have states that allow younger marriages, and Moist Critical, to his credit, points it out. These are Romeo and Juliet. Like okay, 15-year-old gets a 14-year-old pregnant. What do you do? Do you lock them up? What do you do? Should they be allowed to get married or something like this? And so there are lots of states that have laws that say, okay, yeah, they can go ahead and get married. In other words, he's pointing out that's not the situation we're talking about. And Moist Critical keeps trying to divert it to the issue of, wait, what about an older guy and a young girl? Not two young people, which is what those laws are in place for. What about an older guy and a younger girl? And Sneako never goes for it. He's like, no. What, a 16-year-old can be mature and can be with a 15-year-old. What's your problem with that? And so, yeah, over from the beginning. It was over from the first minute.
So I'm not arguing to lower the age of consent. I don't believe in the age of consent. We can get there. I want to establish some terms first.
You catch that, IP? He's not saying lower the age of consent. He's saying no age of consent. He's saying toss the idea out. His actual position, based on the actual position that I kind of picked up through the discussion, is that it's basically the girl and the guy and the parents all get together and decide if she's ready, something along those lines.
Yeah, that's insane.
It's extremely insane. Extremely insane. And Sneako doesn't realize how insane that is. What happens when you have a mom and dad who've been duped by the Dawa guys into thinking that their 3-year-old is okay for one of these guys to
Well, not only that, there are cults in the US like the fundamentalist LDS who engage in this. And they, you know, Jeff Warrens was caught a couple years ago. I mean, he was married to young teen girls. I mean, like, we need laws in place to prevent radicals and fundamentalists from engaging in that and harming children, because that's what will ultimately happen if we ever enter the dystopia of abolishing age of consent.
There's this whole idea that the parents should be in charge and they should decide when a girl is whether a girl is ready or not is so illogical, and it completely contradicts with the reality in the world of having established laws simply because humans cannot be trusted on their own, because they can become very messed up, can be influenced by messed up things, can do wrong things. Yes, you can assume that most parents will do what they think is best for their child. However, that is not, you can't just rely on that, because humans can be duped, they can be lied to, they can be
evil.
They can be evil, they can be messed up in the head, they can be crazy and insane and do weird things. And if they have the authority to decide whether the girl is ready or not, they could be influenced or crazy or evil enough to give a 1-year-old away, for example.
Yeah, and that's the issue, because again, we see this with cults. We see cult leaders who dupe their followers into, hey, give me your daughters. And it's exactly what Muhammad did, because that is a cult. It's just big enough that we call it a religion now, but it's the exact same thing. And you can have these Dawa guys convincing parents that it's a good idea to hand over their daughters to creepy old perverts, and you can't object to it because then you're condemning Muhammad. So yeah, that's why it's bad. I mean, both these guys are thinking about this completely wrong. I think of it almost it's like around a kid, there should be a system of checks and balances, right? So in the U.S. government, we have a system of checks and balances, because you got the courts, you got the executive branch, you got Congress, and so on. And the idea is that if one of these groups gets out of line, another group can hold them in check, right? So the courts can go after someone else, someone in a different branch, in order to hold them accountable, and so on. Around a kid, you need parents. If the parents aren't doing their job, you need teachers who can report those parents. You need the government that can step in. You need police that can step in. And when any of those is getting out of line, there needs to be accountability. In other words, if you have a teacher who's convincing a kid that, hey, you should transition, little kid, and then you try to keep the parents out of it, that's when people go, wait a minute, why? Now you're trying to, you're ruining the system of checks and balances. If a teacher is doing something wrong, that teacher should be held accountable by the government, by the parents, and so on. Anyway, the idea is to have a system in place, a network, the community, the family, the government, and all of these are supposed to be working together to protect that kid from things that would harm that kid. And if someone is not doing their job, there are other people there or other groups that can jump in and say, wait a minute, that person is out of line right there, not protecting that kid. That's how it should be. That's kind of what we have now, although people are trying to rip that down. But if you just go in and say, no, it's the decision of the parents, okay, so there's no check on the parents. The parents can say, hey, go ahead and go, hey, 54-year-old guy, go bang my 1-year-old. I don't care. The Dawa guy convinced me that it's fine. That's creepy. And so they're both completely wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's not even just with Romeo and Juliet laws. There's a lot of states where it's 16 regardless of Romeo and Juliet. And then you go to Europe, most countries are 16. Japan, I think they just changed it. It was like 13 or 14, and now it's 16. Brazil, it's 14. I saw that from a Nelk Boys video. They were joking around about how they should, when in Rome, they're in Brazil, so they might as well sleep with a 14-year-old. Right? Or across the world, 18. I want to see, why do you think 18 is the age of consent?
Burn the proof on
because
Charlie.
that right now is the one that makes the most sense. I
Great
guess to
job,
piggyback off what you're
Sneako.
saying. So
What's that?
Great job, Sneako. Seriously,
Yeah.
great. I never thought I would say this, but great job, Sneako.
Throughout.
You handled that
When
exactly
you-
how you should have
Throughout.
handled
He
it.
burns this guy up.
This guy Moist Critical just what a failure, man.
When you get a second, David,
it
I want to
doesn't
put
get
a
any better.
slide up.
Oh, you want me to put that slide up?
Yeah, when you get a second.
Okay, I'll have to take this down real quick.
Okay, a good reason why 16 is too low is a good metric of this. We can look
There
at
you go.
divorce rates. So, for example, you can look at research from the CDC or family studies. So, what we tend to see is you can see right around that 18 point that we see a sharp decrease in divorce. And basically, you have the lowest divorce rates after 25 to about a little bit after 30, and then it starts to shoot up again.
Wait.
So we
Wait.
see-
What are you saying? So at age at first marriage and divorce. So you're saying that when people who are young, in other words, if you're 12 and 13 and you're getting married, there are extremely high rates of divorce, and those tend to drop significantly once you're dealing with adults because they were probably better informed in their decision about who to marry.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Now, I mean, this isn't the only thing. We can look at other metrics. There's all sorts of psychiatric disorders associated with child marriage, which is defined as marriage under the age of 18, as well as physical issues as well, poor parenting skills, lower birth weight among infants. But I mean, the divorce rate is actually a pretty good metric to see why 18 is a pretty good age as the bare minimum for setting for marriage and adulthood, because we see this sharp decline right after 18. Before that, your brain is still growing in many important ways. You're not the same person you are at 18 than when you were 15. Likewise, when you're 21. But because your brain is developing, you're still a child at 15. You shouldn't be in this kind of committed relationship because you don't know how to handle it. And this is why we see a lot of these teens that get married, they end up divorced because they just simply aren't ready for this yet. So this is a pretty good metric to see why 18 is a good place to set, because we see that sharp decline. And again, I say 18 is the bare minimum. I would even encourage people to wait even a little longer. As you can see, you're going to have a less likely divorce rate if you wait to around 25 or so. So, but I mean, 18, that's good bare minimum. You go back further, I mean, you get really high divorce rates. So this is just something to keep in mind as to why, and again, another good indicator as to why we move the age of consent, the age of marriage. I think should be globally, is 18. And this is not just based on an arbitrary number set. There are plenty of good metrics all converging to it being 18.
Beast.
Very, very beast. All right, let's wait a second. Let's get IP back here.
Oh, just me. Oh.
Wouldn't it be
Where'd my other camera go? Why am I small now?
Wouldn't it be so funny? So funny if Sneako, encouraged by this, as you pointed out, David, accepted to have a debate with IP here.
Yes.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah, he's trying for Alex Jones.
That will be.
I doubt it will happen, but I'll debate Sneako. Sneako, come on. Let's have an actual adult conversation. You think you're ready to debate this topic? Debate me. I've researched this a lot. We could have a great conversation. Why are you going after just people like this Charlie guy who has not researched it? Debate someone who actually has it. If you've got knowledge on this, bring it. And I've got a lot of research on it. We'll compare notes. That's what we should do.
Yeah, that would definitely, and I mean, keep in mind, if Sneako's actually interested in getting to the truth, he should be totally fine with this sort of thing.
Why am I so huge? What's happening? Why am I so huge? You guys are so small. What's happening here?
Because I was messing around.
Hey,
I was
AP,
messing
stop
around with
bragging.
something.
What? Oh yeah, that's
Stop
true.
All right, let's watch a little more of this video before IP has to take off.
You're traveling right now. If you go to Europe, are you going to be comfortable like hooking up with a 16-year-old? Like just because it's legal there, would that make you feel comfortable?
No, I don't hook up anymore. I'm
I'm
good Muslim
not
now.
saying that you do, but I'm saying if you were, single and looking for someone, would you feel comfortable with it being a 16-year-old if it's in Europe versus US?
I wouldn't do that. Like I would not have sex before. I think sex like out of wedlock altogether is something that we should. not
Oh
encourage
my!
anymore.
What an idiot! What an idiot. Answer the question. That's not the question, man.
Yeah.
I just praised you. That's not the question, Sneako.
Yeah. I think Charlie does try to push him on this.
The age of consent, having that idea
either here or later. I'm not sure which.
encourages people to have premarital sex, right? Just that term, age of consent, means you're consenting to something that we shouldn't be doing. So no, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that.
Okay, so then instead of let's take it away from like premarital sex. Would you feel comfortable marrying a 16-year-old? Like, would you meet a 16-year-old with romantic intent if you're in Europe, and maybe marry a 16-year-old?
I
Nothing
wouldn't.
sexual.
I probably wouldn't personally, because I don't think that I'd be on the same mental playing field. I like to have intellectual conversations. I like to be more. I like to be with women that are around my.
What's that?
Okay. Exactly. This is another reason why child marriage is so bad. Most people, most men, for example, don't want to marry a child because they want to be on the same intellectual level with their wife. That's a mature response. Who are going to be the people targeting children in child marriages? People that are messed up. They don't want a equal partner. Nick Fuentes. They want someone who they can control, manipulate. They want someone who they can basically dominate. One of the other factors that comes out of the research on child marriage is we see a high rate of intimate partner violence, spousal abuse. These men marry children and they start beating them. Why? Because they're not right in the head and they're going after children anyway. And they want someone they can control and manipulate. And that manifests in ways. And one of the main ways it manifests is in intimate partner violence. So this is another reason why as societies we should outlaw child marriage, because the people that are going to target like 16, 15-year-olds are men that are not right in the head. They got their own psychiatric issues. And it's also going to result in these poor girls being beat, as we see in the Islamic world, in places in Africa where they allow child marriage. So Sneako's actually on point here, and he doesn't realize he's actually making a case against getting rid of the age of consent. That's another important check and one of the checks and balances that keeps children safe. Because who's going to target the children? People that are messed up. People that are not messed up are just naturally going to date adults. So it's not a law that's even going to affect normal functioning adults in any given society.
And I have to point out here that you have our good friend Sneako here. He just said, we all heard it, he just said he doesn't believe in sex outside of marriage anymore because of Islam. No idea what he's talking about. It's the opening of Surah 23. Successful indeed are the believers, those who offer their prayers with all solemnity and full submissiveness, and those who turn away from blah, 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 all sorts of bad things, and those who pay the zakat, and those who guard their chastity, i.e. private parts, from illegal sexual acts. Next verse, except from their wives or the captives and slaves that their right hands possess, for then they are free from blame.
Alhamdulillah. Beautiful, beautiful verses.
Yeah, it's not just marriage, Sneako.
Yeah.
It's not just marriage, Sneako. If you capture a girl, you can have sex with her. So, Sneako, you just condemned your own prophet here. Here's the same thing in Surah 70. It's talking about people who are really good Muslims and those who believe in the day of recompense in 26, and those who fear the torment of their Lord. Verily, the torment of their Lord is that before which none can feel secure. And those who guard their chastity, i.e. private parts, from illegal sexual acts, except with their wives and the women, slaves, and captives whom their right hands possess. So, Sneako, once we bring this out, your Dawa handlers are going to have to correct your morality once again. They're going to have to say, Sneako, dude, you got it wrong, man. You got it wrong. It's not just within marriage. It's you can marry a girl, or you can just capture her. You go and capture her or buy her as a slave. You can bang her too. And watch, as soon as they explain that to Sneako, Sneako will suddenly change his position.
Yep.
Interesting stuff.
Same age, because then I can have conversations I like to relate to them. I think there'd be too much of a gap. But other people, like, if they're able to get along, then I don't see why that's so much of a problem.
Well, why don't you see that as a problem? So for you, you're recognizing like this person's much younger than me.
Did you have something to say there, AP?
I was just expressing my disgust. I wanted to say something, but I'll leave it.
it is a kid. Like you are talking to.
Okay, so let's
at
define
best,
these
like a
terms.
sophomore in
Let's
high school.
before we even get into let's define these terms before we even get into this conversation. What is a child?
I would use the age of consent. Under 18 would be a kid in my eyes.
Oh,
So a 17-year-old who's 364 days, that's a kid.
There it is.
Yep, I'm gonna use very hard set terms.
He says, yep.
If it is under 18, even if it's 17.
This is Sneako's dream debate right here. I mean, this guy's
Yeah.
responses. This guy's responses are like the dream responses.
This is easy to debunk. Yeah, obviously there's not much difference between an 18-year-old and a 17-year-old 364 days. But again, as a society, we have to set it at somewhere so that we can have actual structure and order in a society. We can't make every girl that's between the ages of 15 and 17 go through a medical exam and a neurological exam. That would be costly and a waste of money. So what do? After the period when puberty is complete, 15 to 17, bam, adulthood. Makes perfect sense from a legal and political perspective.
What you just brought up is an extremely important point that is just missing from this entire discussion, because if you wanted some individualized system, right, like it's specific to the person, because guess what? People do mature at different rates. That does happen, right? So, but following what if Sneako's view were to be fleshed out and to be made as reasonable as possible, you couldn't just say whatever the parents decide is okay. You have to set some kind of limits, and you have to have some sort of government ability to interfere if the parents are not doing something massively harmful to the child. You need something in place, but the idea would be you have this big collaboration. This would be the theory. This would be the theory that is being put forward by the Dawa guys. This is Daniel Hakikachu's view, right? That there's this group of people who are going to decide on an individual basis when a girl is allowed to have sex. Now, the reason that's a problem is now you just made things 1,000 times more complicated. Like, okay, we got a rule, 18. That's a pretty easy to understand. No, don't have sex with a girl before she's 18 or something like that, right? Now, if you're going to say, okay, we have all these doctors and government agents and family members and all stuff. They're all coming and checking the girl and checking her vajayjay and so on constantly to find out, okay, now she's ready to be for a guy to jump in. Okay, and you're doing this with millions of girls? Now you need a system of like hundreds of thousands of doctors and a separate government agency and government agencies in every single town whose job is to go and inspect girls to find out if they're actually ready. Guys, it would be the same thing if you say, so we say people can vote when they turn 18, or they can start drinking alcohol when they're 21, smoking cigarettes at 21. Just imagine if you said, well, some people develop at different rates, and some people have a higher tolerance for alcohol, and some people are more prone to alcoholism than others. So the government has to take all those different factors into account and decide at what age each person is allowed to vote, is allowed to smoke, is allowed to drink, all those things, is allowed to have sex. It's impossible. You can't have that. You'd be dedicating like half your annual budget to figuring out if you can bang little girls.
And just to say, I would say,
yeah.
I would say an 18-year-old is still, for the most part, more likely to be a child. I would not say the 17-and-a-half-year-old is more likely to be an adult. I would say someone who's 18 and 19, they're still leaning more towards the child side of life. But again, we got to grant status to adulthood somewhere. The brain is still developing until the age of 25. We want them to slowly learn how to be an adult. So at some point, we got to say to the children, hey, we have to consider you an adult at some point so you learn how to start being an adult and can function in an adult world. This is why we grant adult privileges slowly. Adulthood, it's at 18, drinking at 21, like renting cars at 25 in some states. You see this gradual process of getting someone to adulthood. We just can't be like 25. All right, you're an adult. Go out there. They're not going to know how to function properly. So we have a gradual process where it's like you're in grade school, then you go to like high school. You have to figure out where your classes are and move around, select your electives. Then you get adulthood. You can vote. Then you get drinking privileges. So it's like we have this gradual process. And at some point, we got to say to the children, you got to start realizing how to be an adult. 18 is a good place for you to start realizing how to function as one. Here's where we're going to grant it.
Yep. Moisty has one point here, which is that it is usually recognized around the world, for example, by UN standards, that somebody below the age of 18 is generally called a child. Somebody who reaches the age of 18 is no longer considered a child. This has different reasons, which have been explained over and over and over again. For example, when they look into whether somebody has been abused or trafficked or something like that. If the person is below the age of 18, they don't further look whether the person consented to it or not, or implied consent or not. If the person is above the age of 18, then it becomes a question of whether there is intentional adult consent involved or not. So, insofar, yes, 18. You could say somebody below the age of 18 is a child. However, that is completely irrelevant to the discussion that is being had here right now, because Sneako is specifically challenging the idea of 18 as readiness for marriage. If you stick by 18, you should probably be able to explain why you think 18 is best. But to say, oh, this is just the most reasonable thing, it's just the best thing, it's just I like 18, that's just a horrible approach.
It was, and
I could probably
it gets.
I gotta probably take off in a minute, by the way, guys.
Yeah, go ahead. I just want to point out, like, it gets worse because Charlie here ends up just saying, well, that's what the government has decided, so you got to go with the government. And then Sneako, of course, points out, so you've got different governments in different parts of the world, and what if the government changes its mind? What if the government all of a sudden says 25? And Charlie, oh, okay, well, then you'd have to go with 25. And so it's just...
wow.
He's making Sneako's argument is that 18 is arbitrary. As IP has pointed out, it's not arbitrary. There are reasons for it. But, then it ended up sounding arbitrary. Like the government, the government just woke up one day and said, hey, we're going to make 18 this age of consent. And he's saying, oh, okay, well, I just go with whatever the government says, which is morally is an incredibly stupid position. And it's just not something that's going to go over well with most any viewers nowadays. IP, I know you have to go. So any final thoughts on this before you take off?
Yeah, I mean, this debate's a dumpster fire, and I would really like to debate Sneako because there's a lot of things he hasn't considered. If he thinks he's got a lot of knowledge on this, bring it. What are you afraid of? I mean, you are clearly open to debating this topic, so let's have a debate. I've reached out to some people who said they're going to communicate with you, so let's set something up. I mean, I've debated multiple Muslims on this now. There's no reason for child marriage. Even the Muslim I was debating yesterday on my Instagram page, which people can go check out, he admitted that girls today should not be getting married. So far better than most of the Dawa guys. I'll give him that. He was just trying to argue that Aisha was somehow mature enough, which is, again, I'm not convinced of that by far. But
I know of no source anywhere in the Muslim sources that refer to Aisha as somehow mature. She sounds exactly like a 9-year-old girl, any other 9-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Playing with dolls, playing on a swing, all that stuff.
And I was trying to just avoid that because it was irrelevant to the topic. It's still wrong, even if she did reach the age of menarche or whatnot. But I mean, like, come on. If Sneako thinks he can defend this, bring it. I have a lot of research we can go over. If he's got a lot of research, we can compare notes and we can have a good discussion. So let's set something up. I mean, we could do it any time at this rate. I will go at any time for Sneako.
Mm-hmm. All right.
You see,
Sneako?
IP is scared. He acts like he wants to debate, but he's running right now, as you can see.
All right, man. You taking off?
Yep. I'll see you guys later.
All right.
See. You're supposed to turn it off
your thing
and
off.
leave.
Let me hang up.
Get out of here.
Just hang
Get
up.
out!
There we go. I hung up on him. Now I got to figure out why it cut off. What? Why does it say he's joining? No, not letting you join. Now I need to figure out. Oh my goodness! Stop.
Permanently ban him so he can never join again.
Is he trying to come back in?
Maybe.
Go away. That rings one more time. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm just going to ignore it. Okay, there it went away. Now I want to find out why it made me, it made me small. What is this? Let's see. What is this? Oh, there we go. Ha! In your face. What?
What is this? I can't see myself on the screen. It's weird.
Take patience, man. Patience. Now zoom in. Because you're all small now. All right.
All this effort, all this.
Let's take a couple super chats and then we'll go through more of this. This does not get better. This does not get better. Yeah, Sneako crushes, dude. Let's see. I don't know whether MBS is a closet apostate. I don't know whether Ali Dawa is a secret Mossad agent. And I don't know whether Sneako is a Muppet controlled by Mohammed Hijab. But I do know D Wood is a closeted wingaling. You. What are you laughing at? It's not even funny.
Exposed.
It's like it's the equivalent of just tossing out a racial slur or something like that. Calling someone a wingaling.
Yeah.
Afghan
totally.
Taliban 2 years ago said child marriage was negative.
What?
What?
They did? What?
That would be nice. Problem is, what are you talking about? They're marrying kids left and right over there. So what do you mean negative? Like they're saying it's bad? I don't know how they do that. The problem is lots of these groups will say, oh yeah, child's marriage bad, but we just consider a 9-year-old a full adult, so she's not a child. That's what the Muslim cowboy does.
Yeah.
David,
No, I'm against child marriage because a 9-year-old is not a child. She's probably an adult. Okay, bro. Creep.
let's see. David, Jake the Muslim told me that it's a contradiction for God to enter his own creation and still be one, taking Trinity doctrine into account. How would you respond to this without delving into heresy? Not the way you're thinking. I wouldn't even, if you're talking Jake, who's just attacking, the first thing I would do is point out inconsistency. I would point out that you have Allah and he's eternally breathing out the spirit of Allah, and he's eternally speaking out the speech of Allah, and that speech of Allah enters our world as a physical book, the Quran. So that's their version of the incarnation, the eternal, incorruptible speech of Allah has to take on a physical nature in our world. And even though the physical nature then has a beginning and can be destroyed and so on, the eternal nature of the Quran can't be destroyed and so on. And so it's a different situation when it takes on a human nature. But the bottom line is, according to Islamic theology, the Quran has two natures. It's the eternal speech of Allah, and it's a physical book made of paper and glue and ink. I would not stop there. Then I would go into a passage from Muhammad where he says that on the day of judgment, the Quran is going to appear as a pale man. So the Quran appears as a pale man. But according to Muhammad, individual surahs of the Quran also appear at the judgment as flocks of birds. They appear as flocks of birds. So Surah 2 appears as a flock of birds. Surah 3 appears as a flock of birds. And they speak and testify on your behalf and testify for you or against you and so on. But keep in mind, so you have Surah 2 can appear as Surah 2, speaking as Surah 2. You have Surah 3 appears as Surah 3. Guess what? These are agents. These are conscious agents, right? Surah 2 can appear. Surah 3 can appear, but they can also appear as one. So I would ask him to clarify all this stuff before he's saying, oh, but the Trinity, that's so God is one in one way, more than one in another way. If you have a problem with God being one in one way, more than one in another way, then you have a problem with your doctrine of Allah, your doctrine of the Quran. You have to throw out your entire theology. So if you're not willing to do that, then drop your objection. Something along those lines. That's what I'd say to someone like Jake. It's different for someone who's just saying, hey, I don't understand the Trinity. Can you explain it? When someone who is attacking the Trinity and their position is entirely inconsistent with their objections, you got to expose that first. That's where I'd go first. Let's see. From Uninspiring Philosophy. Look at the picture. He just says, hello. That's pretty uninspiring. And then we got Repugnant IP. A repugnant stream about a repugnant debate.
Who makes all these accounts? I'm really curious.
I don't know. There's a lot of people, a lot of accounts. Not as repugnant as dispensationalism. That's what he finds especially repugnant. Heisenberger says, Charlie said in his recent video that he didn't expect to debate Sneako, but just talk, so he didn't prepare to debate, I guess. Okay, well, that makes sense. So the idea there is he went in just thinking we're going to have a friendly discussion. I'm going to find out what Sneako's views are. And Sneako went in and treated this as a debate and actually trained and prepared for it and had the Dawa guys get him ready. So yeah.
I mean, I had situations like that where
we've all had those.
Having a discussion live that just turned into a disaster because I didn't really intend to have a debate, and it kind of turned into one. So I get it. I get
Yeah,
it.
the Dawa guys, by the
But
way, they plan for that stuff, right? How do we
yeah,
how do we catch the guy? How do we get this guy to where he thinks he's just showing up for a friendly discussion, but we're actually like coming in guns blazing?
yeah,
See,
makes sense.
this whole stream is majorly sus. Is that true?
According to Sus Mike Jones, yes.
AP, look this up. Sunan Ibn Majah 3324 makes me sick, angry, hateful. Sunan Ibn Majah 3324.
Maja. Let's see. It was narrated that Aisha said, "My mother was trying to fatten me up when she wanted
Oh
to
yeah, the
send me to the
cucumbers.
Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when she got married, but nothing worked until I ate cucumbers with dates. Then I grew plump, like the best kind of plump."
Like the best kind of plump, the kind of plump that would support a man's weight on top of me, which is that's the goal in Islam. Pretty gross. In India, number 2 means defecating. God bless y'all. Oh, thank you for that. Hey, did you guys know that when we were calling Islam number 2? I said in India, it means defecating. Guess what? That's
Only in
what
India.
it means here too.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Momo
Never
says
heard of-
there's a reason Western world reached to a conclusion that there should be an age limit, while other cultures think removal of heads and using your children as shields did not. Morals, selfishness, and the book they worship.
Good point.
I have a daughter. The thumbnail alone is nauseating and infuriating. Yeah, guys, that's why there's a reason we want to keep going through. Do we actually want to spend all this time talking about child marriage all the time? No, just like disgusting. There's all kinds of other things we could be talking about. You have to. They are really going all in on this issue. They are striving to win, and they are duping dumb people into going, "No, that's right, that's right. There is no great reason for 18. So if not 18, then why not 17? If 17 is okay, then why not 16? And then 16, why not 15? And then 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9. Well, why not a 9-year-old? Why not a 9-year-old? What are you just going to cut the? I mean, girls develop at different rates and so on. Just let their parents decide. You cannot let these guys win this argument. It's bad.
That makes so much sense. Well, now that I hear Sneako say it, wow, that's brilliant. I never thought about it this
Yeah,
way.
keep in mind, more like, wow, even Sneako just won a debate on this. I guess he has a really strong case.
Oh yeah, that's the
And
that's
guys,
the problem.
if you don't understand the real world implications, one, if you convince a Muslim population that it's perfectly acceptable for grown men to have sex with little girls and so on, these guys do marriages in the mosque that aren't recognized by the government, right? They don't tell the government that they're getting married. That's how Muslim in like the UK can have 4 wives. And they talk about it freely. When they did their show, Ali Dawa and Muhammad Hijab and so on, they're doing a show on what about secret second wives and stuff. They're not even talking about secret from the government. That's just taken as a given. They're talking about secret from their first wives. And so this is a normal thing. But guess what? If these guys are doing their marriages, which are just in the mosque, and so it's not official with the government, it's just official with the mosque. And if that mosque thinks it's okay to have sex with a 9-year-old girl, and Dawa guy shows up and says, "Hey, this other Dawa guy says I can have his daughter and marry his 7, 8, 9-year-old daughter," what's to stop them? There are real world implications. You even see with the Iraq. I think the law change in Iraq is going to fail, but the fact that this is becoming an issue, that they're actually proposing it, people do not understand. They think humanity has just moved past these things. No, you had Western nations in the 20th century. You had Western nations compelling Muslim nations to make laws against child marriage and so on. It was always understood in their eye. Okay, these other nations are so powerful right now. We have to go along with them, but there's going to come a point when they're weak, and then we can get back to the way we want to do things. And right now, they're looking at us saying, you see, they're weak, and therefore we can go back to banging little kids.
You see, they accuse Islam of forcing others to change their beliefs, but then you have the West. You have the West literally forcing Muslim countries to abolish child marriage and things like that. This is just disgusting. It is clear as day here that it's actually the West that always forces people to convert.
Mm-hmm. It's forced moral conversion.
Yes.
In poorer countries, the girl is often sold for the money. That happens. That we've seen that over and over again in Afghanistan. Like you're poor, your family's poor and starving. Hey, I can give away my 6-year-old to this rich guy, and he'll give us some money for food, and then he bangs the 6-year-old.
I made this joke a long time ago.
This is
in
not
one
a
of my
joke.
videos,
This is serious.
which I still feel kind of bad about, but also I get it, and this is kind of the point of it. But I joked about how Islam put an end to burying your girls alive, and then introduced the idea of just marrying them off and all that. And that sounds a little bit disgusting, but that's the
It's true.
problem. That's the whole point. Supposedly, Islam came in, and there was the whole huge problem of people burying their little daughters, burying them alive and killing them. This is a narrative that is often sold when Islam is taught to people, especially at a young age. It turns out that there's actually not much evidence that burying your child alive was that common and that widespread. However, it was around, and it actually did exist in many different cultures because parents would be, poor in starvation, wouldn't have the means to survive, and having a girl would mean another mouth to feed, and one that cannot really be helpful. So they would, out of despair, bury their children, which is horrible. However, with Islam comes along and Islam is like, okay, we got a solution. We got an idea. How about you just marry children as soon as you can, and then you can build an empire of child marriages. As soon as the child can bear it, you can climb on top of them and have sex with them. Beautiful. Perfect solution.
Yeah, Manny here says, have you seen cases where young boys get married to old women? In theory, it could happen, but no, that's not what you see. And that should raise the question of what you're actually dealing with here. Are you just saying, hey, age ain't nothing but a number, and hey, anyone can marry it? You only see this going in one direction. You see a bunch of creepy old guys wanting to have sex with little girls. That's what you see. Why? Because Muhammad did it. And so, yeah, no, you don't see. You can always, and keep in mind, guys, when you see even like a 20-year-old, if you see a 20-year-old guy marry a 70-year-old lady, what do y'all think? What's everyone thinking?
Yes.
He's doing it for the money, right? No, it could be a different situation. He could just be attracted to old ladies or something like that. That could happen. In general, you're talking about people. You're talking about old guys who are attracted to young girls. That's what you're talking about, and that's creepy. But that's the issue that keeps coming up. You don't see this arising as an issue where a 9-year-old boy wants to marry a 54-year-old woman or something like that.
Beast.
Let's see. I never thought I would say this. Sneako is doing well in a debate. I feel gross. Need to wash my eyes out with bleach. Yeah. So guys, there's a negative and a positive. The negative side is there may be people going, wow, maybe Sneako has a better case than we thought. He just won a debate. The positive side is it's going to give him confidence. He's going to feel good, and he's going to take on a debate, and he's going to get crushed. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Age of consent only means we're not going to put you in prison. Not that it's a great idea. Yeah, that's true. Why is there so much bass in AP's audio compared to the others? That's not what being based means, AP. It just makes you sound like Mike Winger. Burn.
It's because of my very masculine voice. In order to kind of balance that out, because I know how unfair it is, I decided to wear this Barbie shirt. That's actually why I'm doing this. So that's the explanation for that.
Yeah, his voice is the bass is in his voice. It's not in like his microphone or something like that.
Yeah.
He went after Charlie because they have previous beef. Oh, I didn't know that. I did not know.
Really?
That. Yeah, so maybe Charlie's been talking trash about Sneako, saying, hey, he supports child marriage. And then Sneako's like, yeah, well, let's talk about this in debate. And he's like, this will be easy. And then within the first minute, he fell for it. He fell for the burden of proof being on him. And setting up 18 as this hard and fast line. And then he even agreed with it. Yes, that's the line. That's the line. And then he'll get into, no, it's because the government says so. Why?
I like the government telling me what to do. So yeah, well, how about let's just listen to the government? I can't believe I'm mocking the other guy in a debate and a discussion and a confrontation between Sneako and somebody else. Man,
Weird. Weird. Yeah. Mumu here says, why are we not talking about the fact that these marriages are not between 17 and 15? It's 45 and 10, 50 and 15. This is madness. That's true. And that's what, I mean, Charlie did keep trying to say, hey, what if it's an older guy? What if it's an older guy? And Sneako just kept going back. No. It could be two 16-year-olds. It could be two 16-year-olds. He should not have moved past. He should have, look, we're not continuing until you answer this question. What if it's a 54-year-old man and a 9-year-old girl? What then? So yeah, but yep, total disaster, but we'll give Sneako a confidence boost that will cause some problems. Wait, did IP just smile? How's Elvis on the UFO, Mr. Alien? Cue the Ray Stevens song. Yeah, must actually be an alien imposter.
yeah, people are asking where IP went. IP it's past IP's bedtime now, so he could only join us for a very short amount of time. This is the time that he usually goes to bed. He's not allowed to stay up after this. So yeah.
In reality, IP has a church prayer meeting on Friday. That's why he doesn't join us live when we go live on Fridays and stuff like this. But I told him this, and he said, "Oh, I'll jump in at the beginning before I leave."
Allegedly, yeah.
Jay says, "Hi, I'm writing a novel. Could either of you help?" To say no from me. No. I asked another Musli, I'm 52, can I marry a 16? He replied, she'd be like your daughter. He seemed to be oblivious of the facts. Keep up your good work. We shall. We shall. But guys, this comes down to everyone here needs to, there's a reason we want to go through a bit of these arguments. This is what you're going to be encountering from the Dawa guys. And I want everyone to understand. They have learned that there was the Daniel Hakikachu road, which is just, so what if she's 4? If she's 4, of course you can have sex. If she's 4 and, she's physically able to have sex, why shouldn't she get married, right? Most Muslims understand you don't want to just go straight to the point. Hey, it's okay to have sex with a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old. They understand that's going to be abhorrent to people. So what are they going to do? They're going to challenge the 18. Right? They're going to get you to say, okay, 17's okay, 16's okay, 15's okay. They're going to keep pushing it. They understand. Don't go right for what you're after. You got to ease people into this stuff. You got to ease them in it. That's what they're doing. And so you got to be ready for this stuff. And so as soon as the discussion comes up, hey, wait a minute, you're saying you're challenging 18. I just want to be clear. We can discuss that. But my main concern is a 54-year-old and a 9-year-old. That's my main concern here with your prophet and with him being the pattern of conduct in Islam. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's actually always useful to point out that is why I made that AI illustration, that photo of Muhammad and Aisha. It's always important to point out that in the case of Aisha, it was a 50-plus-year-old man marrying a 9-year-old girl, or a 53-year-old man marrying a 6-year-old girl, and then having sex with her when she's 9. Mm-hmm. That makes things very, very different.
Change comes from within says, if they are looking for good qualities in Islam, then it is really Jesus they are looking for, except they don't want to suffer for him. The Muslims who are good are really following Jesus' stolen glory. I like the stolen glory. Here we have, if you look into science, a person's brain and body do not stop developing until at least 25. And what would a 30-year-old have in common with an 18-year-old? They are still not mature adults. You can always be questioning like wisdom and right choices here. Most of the time we're talking about the law and where should the law draw a line. You don't want the law saying you can't do something until you're 30, you can't get married until you're 30 because of this or that. Or if a 30-year-old wants to marry a 20-year-old, okay, the 20-year-old's an adult and so on. What you want to avoid is kids making decisions or people making decisions for them that alter their lives completely forever, and that they're not equipped to make, the kids aren't actually equipped to make those choices that are going to like completely radically change their entire futures, and they're not equipped for them. That's what you're trying to avoid. If a 20-year-old makes a decision, a 25-year-old, 30, something like that, okay, you've lived long enough to be making decisions, and you're going to make some mistakes and so on. So anyway, yeah, the main concern is law. As far as talking about 18-year-olds and what's the age of consent, the main concern there is law. But I have said that's not our main concern when we're talking about Muhammad and whether he's a good moral example. We're talking about we're not saying that a 22-year-old Muhammad had sex with a 17-year-old, and so, oh, she would have been a little under the modern age of consent. We wouldn't be having this discussion right now. We wouldn't be bringing this up as an issue. We're talking about a 54-year-old penetrating a prepubescent 9-year-old girl. Okay, that's a problem, especially when you take that guy as your moral pattern of conduct. Very disturbing.
Yeah. Plus, I don't know why you would bring science into this, because Candace Owens recently said that that science is that she doesn't believe in science because she doesn't believe in the religion of science.
Did she call it a cult or something?
I think she just called it a religion.
A religion? That's funny.
So stupid.
Hey, look, Sheikh Mike Wingeling says, hey, the moment I arrive, IP runs. What a weakling. That's true. He did run instantly.
Scared.
Nice team. Invite Mike Winger next time. There's no scenario where Mike Winger will be invited here. It would ruin the entire thing. We love you, David, and Apostate Prophet. Good. And I haven't even read this comment by Goat Hub, but I see it's by Goat Hub. I know. I have an idea. I'm looking right at the camera. I'm predicting it's going to be something stupid about Moist Critical. One night with us, and you too can be Moist Critical. Use code GetMeMoist. Oh my goodness, Bobby.
Perfect.
Oh boy. Let's see. Perfect. And here, demand anyone who wants to debate this topic to turn over their hard drives for inspection beforehand, and suddenly you'll see far less public child sex advocates. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. All right, we got more super chats. We want to watch more of this discussion because, again, guys, the goal here, you need to be prepared for this stuff. If you're a young Dawa guy and you know that people are going to be challenging Muhammad and the ethics of child marriage and so on, and they just watch Sneako and his triumphant victory over Charlie, people are going to be like, ooh, let me absorb this. And guess what? If they use the exact same arguments, but they're going against people who are completely unprepared, like Charlie. Guys, now I just want to be clear. I'm not trying to criticize Charlie as AP, but we've been in this situation before where you go in thinking, oh, I'm just in a conversation and so on, and then people jump on you and they're bringing up points and you haven't thought through them and so on. That sort of thing happens. But the point is, other people are going to see this and go, wow, this actually works. And guess what? It will work. This approach will work. The approach Sneako is using will work with people who are uninformed. So the point is, don't be uninformed. And when you see them using this approach on someone else to dupe them, jump in and say, wait a minute. Are you saying that it's okay to have sex for a 54-year-old to have sex with a 9-year-old? Are you saying that? And get them to defend that position, not, we're just questioning the age of 18. Why can't it be 17 and 364 days? Why not that?
Educate yourself.
All right, so let's see. All right, let's go ahead and watch more of this. It's going to be powerful.
64, that's still a kid.
That's a kid. Okay, so right now,
I think it's important to have these hard lines in the sand where it doesn't have this kind of wiggle room.
Okay, why does that define kid?
As I said earlier, at 18, at that point, you're going out of high school, you're going to college, you're living on your own, you're no longer, a child under your parents' roof, for the most part, extenuating circumstances, of course. But at that age, you are starting to become independent. You are no longer just in your parents' household a kid. You are now going off into the world on your own.
You do admit that varies for most people, right? A lot of people don't move out of their parents' homes until they're 25, 26, 27. A lot of people don't.
There's nothing wrong with that.
A lot of people graduate high school 16. A lot of people graduate high school 20. It's a huge variable. So to set that in stone as that this is when you're a kid and this is you're an adult, that doesn't apply to most people. So why would you define a kid and an adult if it doesn't apply to most people?
Do you see, by the way, again, every single thing Charlie says, Sneako flips it back on him. Burden of proof. Why are you saying? Why are you using these arbitrary rules? Why are you? again, someone trained this dude. Someone trained this dude very recently.
I'm so surprised, man. Listen, Sneako actually, I don't know, makes sense here compared to the other guy, because the other guy is not good.
He does, and Sneako's gonna end up challenging him on like meta ethics and everything else. And this is crazy, man.
Because it needs to be defined. Otherwise, you can get into this really gray area where you, like a lot of the things you say, can be misconstrued as you wanting to have sex with a 15, 16-year-old.
Who construed that?
A lot of people, because, I mean,
I don't
in
think
your
anybody
clips
thinks
that
that.
I played in the
There's-
video, you
there's
were
no
saying
way.
like the age of maturity, the age of development, and then you use 16 and 17 in that clip.
So
like, for the age of marriage.
The definition of an adult is 18 years old.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fine establishment right there. Anything under 18 would classify as a kid. I think that's important.
Okay, but you're getting that from what? From personal experience, from the government, from the law? Because that's legally in America, that's when you become an adult, correct?
Yeah, legally. it
So
is.
you're following the government's definition of an adult.
I think there needs to be a definition, and that one's been around for a long time, and I think that's the one most people accept as the closest to, like, yeah, this is what.
You got a problem with that?
Makes me cringe. Makes me cringe. Again, this is not the line, that you want to pursue when you argue this issue, and when you object to somebody who proposes child marriage. You cannot get anywhere with this, and somebody who has a little bit of a grasp of the topic can totally turn it around and just make you look pretty bad. And you don't want to do that, because if this discussion has larger, wider implications, as David pointed out again and again. It would rather be useful to... The best debate I have seen ever on this, honestly, was the one between Mike, IP, and Daniel Kikichu, where IP did a fantastic job demonstrating why child marriage is horrible, and made Daniel look like a complete predator. And that's the line where you want to pursue, where you actually talk about why child marriage is wrong, not about why 18 should be the line, but rather about the implications, the harm of child marriage, how it has been historically explored, how we came to the conclusion that it is bad biologically and psychologically speaking, and so on. Not this. This is pretty bad.
It's pretty bad.
You become an adult.
It actually hasn't, right? 200 years ago in the 1800s in America, the age of
Yeah, but we
marriage.
can't live like that. We're so much more advanced than that. Why would we play by those rules? Because at that point, are you going to start arguing that we should be able to start wedding 12-year-olds? Like, is 12 too young?
That's not the point. I'm saying you're saying that the U.S.
Answer the question.
defined
Answer
adult
the question.
as 18. Well, I'm saying
Is 12
200
too
years
young?
ago, the age of marriage in
By the way, little side note. This is a good point by Charlie here, right? Because they habitually do this. Well, 200 years ago, the age of marriage was the age of consent. Wait a minute. Do you allow for the idea that we can advance and learn more and learn more about what's good for people? And do you acknowledge that people can change? So guys, be ready for that. They always do that. But look, 400 years ago, this is blah, blah, blah. Wait, are you saying that whatever the case was 400 years ago, you can't like recognize that something is better? And you could flip this on them and say, okay, well, 400 years ago, they were drinking beer. So you could drink beer now too, right? Because 400 years ago, people were drinking beer. So you could drink beer. So stuff like that. But yeah, be ready for that. But what did he ask him? I don't think Charlie here has any clue what's in the Muslim sources. I think he just heard that Sneako supports child marriage, because when he's saying, well, you would say 12 is too young, right? I mean, if you're going to say 14 or 16, I mean, why not say 12? But you wouldn't say 12, right? There's no way you would say that. We're all thinking 9, 9, 9, 9. I don't think he knows. I don't think he knows what Muhammad did.
Looks like it. Yeah.
But let's see. But here, you got to hold Sneako. You got to make Sneako answer here. Is 12 too young?
America was 10 and the UK was 7, right? So if the government decides to change it, you're saying it's 18. If the government, maybe if Kamala Harris gets elected, then the new legal age of an adult is 25. And there could be reasons to say that. They graduated college. They don't leave the house until this age. Their brains don't develop until they're 25. Your frontal cortex is not fully developed until you're 25 years old. A lot of people aren't making serious money. They're not able to live independently. A lot of things that you could use to classify an adult don't happen for the new age American until 25 years old. So
What's that?
I just want to say something. We are watching this debate, and for some reason, we are watching Sneako having a discussion about child marriage. I just want to point out one thing, which is that this discussion is only taking place. So Sneako only cares about child marriage and the age of marriage right now because he converted to Islam. And then after converting to Islam, he was confronted with the fact that Muhammad married a child. When he was 50 years old, he married a 6-year-old child and had sex with her at the age of 9. And he was confronted upon that. And then he found it disgusting. Initially, he said that he finds it disgusting. Then Muslims told him that it's totally okay and explained to him that it's okay, which is why he is now sitting here having a discussion about child marriage. It's only because of that. It's not because he thinks, well, I personally think that the age of marriage is not appropriate and we should change it for these and these and these reasons. No, it's just because he converted to Islam. That's it.
That is the reason. That is the reason. And guys, this is why it's a problem, because you could reason with Sneako and show him there are all these problems and so on. If he wants to remain a Muslim, at the end of the day, he has to say it's okay.
Yeah.
A 54-year-old. And keep in mind, as AP pointed out, when Sneako originally found out about this, he was repulsed.
Yeah.
But then they told him, well, they're the ones who told him, but what? Why 18? Why 18? It's arbitrary. It's arbitrary. And he went, now he starts using that argument. I don't think he still realizes what he's defending, but based on that, because we're going to make them explain it to him, because I'll make a separate video showing how he's condemning Muhammad. He's actually condemning Muhammad. And then they're going to have to talk to him and say, hey, you can't be saying these things because you're going against Muhammad. And then he's going to change his position. Actually, guys, you can have sex with a 12-year-old. That is fine. But let's see what he says here.
Kamala Harris raised it to 25. Would you then say that that's the new age? Would you agree with that?
I think that'd be totally understandable. Like, I
Right.
think
So
that's
does
fine.
that, so
Like,
then does
if
that
you-
make
if you
so then does that make anybody who sleeps with an under 25-year-old, does that now make them a pedophile?
No, I don't think necessarily that makes them a retroactive pedophile.
So
by
so
any
then what's a
means,
pedophile?
But it's an accepted definition of 18 for a long time. Is
No.
Not
the
for that
agreed
long.
upon-
Not for that.
Here, he doesn't even know what he's talking about. Let me give you... All right, I'm going to give you the DSM. Guys, so what Moist Critical, this is a problem. This is a problem here. Charlie, he's completely wrong in how he's defining a pedophile. Yeah. So he's saying the government says the age is 18, and I'm saying anything under the age of 18 is a child, and therefore anyone who has sex with someone under 18 is having sex with a child and is therefore a pedophile. That is not the definition of a pedophile. That is not the definition of a pedophile. So pedophilic disorder, according to the DSM-5, that's the standard work in diagnosing mental health problems. There are three criteria. So one is an individual who has arousing fantasies about, urges for, or behaviors with a prepubescent child or children. So for pedophilic disorder, they're talking about prepubescent children. Prepubescent. So you can have fantasies about, urges for, or behaviors with. So if you have sex with a prepubescent child, they say this is that's a criterion. 2, the individual has acted out these desires or is experiencing significant distress or difficulty as a result of the desire. So either you do what you're fantasizing about, what you want to do with the child, or you're struggling with it. You're like having trouble resisting and so on. And then 3, very important here, the individual is at least 16 years of age and at least 5 years older than the child or children noted in criterion A. In other words, if you're a 10-year-old attracted to a 9-year-old, a prepubescent 9-year-old, they don't say you're a pedophile. You're still, it's kind of age appropriate for you to like someone close to your own age. So they say you have to be a minimum of 5 years older. So if you're 20 and you're attracted to a 9-year-old, that's very different from a 10-year-old being attracted to a 9-year-old. They think you have a mental problem now. Now you have a mental problem. Now what do you do? What do you do if it's a 54-year-old man attracted? Or but you can even go 51-year-old attracted to a 6-year-old. 51-year-old attracted to a 6-year-old.
like
do you do there?
Muhammad.
So, yeah, Charlie here, he occasionally brings up some relevant points and so on, but the way he's defining, I mean, he's handing this, the way he's arguing things and the positions he's taking, he's basically handing everything to Sneako here.
Sneako already killed him at this point, honestly. It's bad. Bad.
Not through most states and not through most countries across the world.
Do you see why this is like a weird take to have though? Like I don't think you're coming at this from a place of you wanting to fuck a 15-year-old, are you? To go back to that question, is
Apologize for the language, ladies and gentlemen. Did not have time to edit out the words.
12 too young? Do you think 12 is too young?
I think 12 is too young for me. Yes.
Oh, wait, he said for me.
For you, do you think 12 is too young in general? I feel like that should be an easy answer.
12 is too young in general, correct.
Mohammed would like to have a conversation with you, Sneako.
I gotta show him. AP. I gotta show him. I gotta show him what Sneako just did. He said, in general, not just for him. And by the way, guys, hats off to Charlie there for sticking the point, because Sneako keeps trying to evade. He said, yes, 12 years old is too young for me. Well, that's not answering the question. Are you saying it's wrong to have sex with a 12-year-old? What are you saying? And again, Charlie doesn't seem to be aware of Muhammad and a 9-year-old. So he's just thinking, oh, well, you guys are just saying children. He thinks they're talking about like 15-year-olds. In reality, they're talking about 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds and so on. And he's just feeding right in because he's feeding right into it because he doesn't know what their actual positions are. But you just heard it, folks. Sneako condemns Muhammad. He says it's in general, as a general rule, a grown man who has sex with a 12-year-old, that is morally repugnant. What do we have here? Oh, let me get this down.
Sneako destroys Prophet Muhammad.
Let's see.
Man.
This is Sahih Bukhari. This is 5133, but you have the chapter intro right there. Chapter, giving one's young children in marriage is permissible. We're not talking about 17-year-olds, ladies and gentlemen. Why is giving your young children in marriage permissible? By virtue of the statement of Allah, and for those who have no monthly courses, i.e. they are still immature, it's Surah 65, verse 4 of the Quran. And the iddah for the girl before puberty. The iddah is the waiting period before the girl can remarry after being married to a different guy. Right? So you marry, and look, this is talking about the waiting period for a girl to remarry before puberty. So she's already been married. She's already had sex. The guy divorces her, wants to trade her in for an even younger model. Oh, she's 8 now. That's too old for me. I want a 6-year-old. He's going to trade her in. Then some other guy marries her before puberty. Before puberty. And then as an example of this, they give Sahih Bukhari 5133, narrated Aisha that the Prophet wrote the marriage contract with her when she was 6 years old, and he consummated his marriage when she was 9 years old. And then she remained with him for 9 years, i.e. till his death. What did Sneako say? So Muhammad is marrying her at 6. What did Sneako say was too young? Oh, he said 12 was too young. In general, not just for him. In general, pronouns, And lest anyone think this is just like one weird source or something like this, 5158, Prophet wrote the marriage contract with Aisha while she was 6 years old, consummated his marriage with her while she was 9 years old, and she remained with him for 9 years, i.e. till his death. 6130, Sahih al-Bukhari. Narrated Aisha used to play with dolls in the presence of the Prophet, and my girlfriends also used to play with me. When Allah's messenger used to enter my dwelling place, they used to hide themselves, but the Prophet would call them to join and play with me. And then in parentheses, the playing with dolls and similar images is forbidden, but it was allowed for Aisha at that time. Why? As she was a little girl, not yet reached the age of puberty. It's over and over and over again in the Muslim sources, ladies and gentlemen. Aisha was a little girl. She's playing with dolls. She's 9 years old and hadn't reached puberty. And Surah 60. Surah. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish.
Oh, I was just going to say, Surah 65, verse 4. And those of your women as have passed the age of monthly courses, so these are grown women, for them the iddah, prescribed period, if you have doubt about their periods, is 3 months. So this is, guys, if you don't understand we've been through this lots of times in the past. If you don't understand what the gist here is, the law about the waiting period, Muhammad's commands about the waiting period. If you divorce a woman, you're supposed to wait 3 monthly menstrual cycles before she can get married again. So that was the command in the Quran. If you're going to divorce a woman, she has to wait 3 monthly menstrual cycles before she can get married again. Then Muhammad's companions eventually raised an objection. What about women who are too old to have a monthly menstrual cycle, girls who are too young to have a monthly menstrual cycle, and pregnant women who don't have a monthly menstrual cycle because they're pregnant? What about those? And then this is Allah's response to that. And so you have, he starts off with those of your women as have passed the age of monthly courses, wait 3 months. Instead of three menstrual cycles, wait 3 months. And for those who have no courses, i.e. they are still immature, their iddah, prescribed period, is 3 months likewise, except in case of death. So if you have a girl who's immature, she has no monthly courses, then you simply... so keep in mind, this is talking about prepubescent girls. It's talking about prepubescent girls. And you can marry them, divorce them, pass them on to the next guy. He just has to wait 3 months. What did Sneako say, ladies and gentlemen? 12 is too young in general, not just for him, in general. And therefore, what's that mean? Sneako condemns Muhammad. That'll be the video title. Sneako condemns Muhammad. He already did it with the saying that sex is only in the context of marriage. That already contradicts Muhammad, who allowed his followers to have sex with their female captives and slave girls and so on. And Muhammad did this as well. And of course, here you have Muhammad having sex with a 9-year-old girl, which is the real issue, the main issue in the discussions. And Sneako just, that's what I mean. As far as Charlie not knowing what the actual issue is and being able to bring it up. Like, imagine if he had said right there, wait, what, you just said what? 12's too young? What? Oh, sources on the screen. Look, Muhammad was 9. Thank you. We agree. Sneako, we agree. We agree. Your prophet's a pedophile. And that's it. That's what they do.
Because, yes.
And I don't think
I
you're
want
coming at
to
this from that
define,
angle.
but what you're saying, your definition of adult is not even the actual definition. Do you know what the definition of child is? Like, anybody watching this can Google it. You can Google it too. The definition of child is somebody who has not reached puberty yet. That's the definition.
Yeah, and then you get into like a beebophile or whatever, as opposed to pedophile, and those are all.
I don't know. I have no idea what those terms are. I don't know what that is, but I'm saying that's the actual definition. When somebody reaches maturity, it's based off of biological and physical maturity.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And
So
right
so
now-
so it varies for everybody. Adulthood is not something that you can set in stone because it's different for the entire world. Right? I moved out when I was 14. A lot of people don't move out until they're 25. I went through puberty when I was 17. A lot of people went through puberty when they were 13, 14, 15. It changes for everybody.
Come on, Sneako. You haven't gone through puberty. But
The thing
guys-
is,
oh, go ahead.
well, what Sneako brought up there is the definition of child is accurate to a point, but there are different definitions of what a child is.
Yeah.
In one case, yes, technically speaking, strictly, a child would be defined as a human between birth and puberty. However, there are the legal definitions used in different contexts and aspects. You could still refer to somebody below the age of 18 as a child, or you could start using different terms for it, but still, by international law, maintain that this is a child and so on. There are different definitions, and depending on the definition, depending on the subject we're talking about, the definition here would change. And
Yes.
yeah.
You're correct. You can have, if you're talking about developmentally, you can break it down into children and adolescents and so on. If you're talking about just from a legal perspective and so on, you can say, okay, 18, you're considered an adult. Before that, you're considered a child and so on. Guess what? None of this has anything to do with what we're talking about. Or it
Yes.
shouldn't be, right? Why is Sneako defending child marriage? Because he converted to Islam and found out that Muhammad had sex with a little girl. And so this was awkward for him since he had already condemned it, but then he had to be trained on how to defend it. But here's the weird part. Instead of actually defending Muhammad, a 54-year-old man having sex with a prepubescent 9-year-old girl, he just goes after that age of 18. Why not a little younger? Why not? Why not have a different system in place where the system is individualized for specific people because some develop at a different rate and so on. Why not that? And he derails the entire issue. Brilliant. Not going to work long term, but in the short term, pretty brilliant move from Sneako, which is why I know he got it from someone else.
Beast.
Indisputable.
For you to say that this is the set in stone age and say you're a pedophile if it's under 18, and then if you're over 18, you're fine. Well, then that's a weird line that doesn't make sense. So you're going to say this person is a terrible person if they're 17 years old, 364 days, and right after that, they're good to go. Well, it changes for everybody. So we have to have something, a definition. We have to be realistic with everybody. Well, we don't. But you're saying but that's not even the case in the country we live in.
Why argue against it? If you don't want the age of consent to be lowered, why are you making arguments that the same people who do make? Right now, what you're saying is kind of what NAMBLA used to say, if you're familiar with NAMBLA.
I have no idea what this is.
NAMBLA was the North American Man-Boy Lover Association. They
Right,
were
because
group.
these people want to have sex to take advantage, and they don't abide by the rules of marriage. They don't have any sort of morality. They just want.
You see the problem?
Wait, what? Okay. This is so dumb. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, so Critical Moist actually brought up an important point that Sneako should probably answer, which is, okay, wait a minute. Why are we having this conversation? Why are you insisting that the age of marriage should not be 18? It should be lower. Why are we having this conversation? And he brought up NAMBLA, and then Sneako, again, in a very, very weird way, accuses these people who are pedophiles of wanting to take advantage of little children, which is why they want to push down the age of consent or the age of marriage. All right. Now we're getting very, very close to something.
So there are grown people who want to take advantage of kids?
Oh, no.
What are you saying, Sneako?
So that is the problem, Sneako?
Should we let them do it, Sneako, or should we try to stop them?
Is that a problem, Sneako? Is that a bad thing, Sneako? Do you still think we should lower the age of consent, Sneako? Do you think it's bad for older men to take advantage of little children, Sneako? Man,
Hey,
this guy has no idea what he's doing.
I have to say, does Charlie seem to have any clue that it's because of Islam that Sneako's doing this?
No,
It just sounds like he has seen Sneako trying to question this age of consent, and he's jumping all over him for that, and he has no idea what it is, and he's pointing out right there, hey, when you make this argument, it makes it sound like you want to do something with a kid. So why would you be arguing this? The correct answer is because he's a Muslim now.
Yeah,
that's the correct answer. Now he has been tasked by his handlers with defending child marriage because that's becoming a huge objection to Muhammad's prophethood. And so that's the real reason. But he seems to have no clue that this is about Islam and not just about Sneako.
So Moist clearly doesn't have any idea about the topic. He doesn't know why Sneako is doing this. He doesn't know why Sneako is arguing for a lower age of consent. He should have probably informed himself on this issue a little bit. But yeah, you're right. It seems to me that Moist has absolutely no idea at all about what Islam says or about why Sneako is even having this discussion.
Indeed.
I'm arguing for this because I believe in marriage. Sex should only be within wedlock. That's why I'm talking about this.
So then why, if you're arguing, we can take sex out of it. Why, when you're arguing for marriage, do you want it to drop? Like, okay, 16.
When did I say, just because I don't believe in the age of consent does not mean that I want it to drop. Like, see, that's where the internet can go apply that just because I'm saying.
Well, no.
No, because you're saying the definition of an adult is 18. I'm saying that's an arbitrary number and that makes no sense. We should encourage marriage when people reach maturity. That makes much more logical
That's
sense.
even more vague, though. Like, but also you directly
It's vague
did
because
say
it's
to me
different for
that
everybody.
When someone
Reach maturity. Reach mature. I have to do it. I just have to remind them right now. Reach maturity. Sneako. Someone get this message to Sneako. Those of your women as have passed the age of monthly courses, for them the IDDA prescribed period, if you have doubt about their periods, is 3 months. And for those who have no courses, i.e. they are still immature. 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 You're saying, but as long as they're mature, no. Your religion says it doesn't matter. They can be immature. And here you have giving one's young children in marriage is permissible. Young children. What is this? What does this say, Sneako? By virtue of the statement of Allah, and those who have no monthly courses, i.e. they are still what? Mature? No. Immature. Huh. That's what your book says. And the iddah for the girl, what? You're saying puberty. Oh, no, a child is just someone before puberty. What does this say? The iddah for the girl, before puberty. Before puberty, before puberty. And the example they give is what? Muhammad and your prophet and Aisha, when he had sex with her when she was 9. This is not complicated, Sneako. Even you can figure this out. Even you can figure this out, Sneako. You're defending everything you're saying that makes sense in your head condemns your own religion and your own prophet and your own book. And you think you're defending it. Weird stuff. Weird stuff.
Weird. Plus, it's very funny that he responds that he doesn't want to lower the age of marriage. He just says whenever people are ready, they should get married. This is just, again, a very dumb response and a very fallacious response. And he just doesn't want an age of marriage. That's or an age of consent. He wants it to be abolished and wants kids to be able to get married. That's it.
Mm-hmm. So that they're and of course in the Muslim community, it's going to be decided by parents, and these parents are absorbing the ideas of Daniel Hakikachu and so on, and really creepy stuff. Demand anyone who wants to debate this topic to turn over their hard drives for inspection beforehand, and suddenly you'll see far less child sex advocates. Indeed, that's true. Did you see the new debate between Daniel, 11-month-old, and Andrew Meyer? No.
Whomst?
No. What do you mean, Daniel, 11-month-old? There's
another Daniel that is 11-month-old, I guess. I don't know.
Well, the 11 months is the prepubescent. That's where we actually have records of people entering precocious puberty as young as 11 months. But Andrew,
what's with your sounds? You sound like you're underwater.
Check. What?
Okay, no, it sounds better. It's because you were turning away and talking to somebody else.
Andrew Meyer, Daniel Hakikachu.
I'm pretty sure this is about a different Daniel that is 11 months old. It says there. So.
Oh, yeah. No, they apparently had a debate. He debated a Jewish guy named Andrew Meyer. Is the Torah's treatment of non-Jewish people ethical?
Oh, interesting. Let me see.
Yeah, they had a debate. I'm not familiar with Andrew Meyer.
Andrew Meyer.
But no, Japester did not see that. Let's see. Taliban, Malawi Buzz, Mohammed Zawaria, Info, and Culture Directorate of Afghanistan. An interview with CNN was quizzed after a famous child marriage case backlash. Guys, that's why everyone needs to stand their ground right now. You see what's going on. See what's going on. I can already imagine all the angels in heaven sounding their trumpets for the salvation of AP, the secret Christian.
Beast.
P.S. Are you wearing a blue hairband? It's throwing me off.
Yes.
It's called a yarmulke. Put on your yarmulke. It's time for Hanukkah. Vagabond says, apparently Islamic City has translated Sahih 1422 as Allah's apostle married me when I was 6 years old, and I was admitted to his house when I was 9 years old. Yeah, which is fine. You just have to understand that admitting you to his house is admitting to house for consummation. Islamic math defending child marriage reminds me of Steiner math. You got 33 and a third chance of beating me. Oh yeah, Steiner. We watched that clip once. You got a 33 and a third chance of beating me. But when you multiply that by the, remember that? That was classic.
No. What a scumbag, man. I'm looking at the debate right now. It's Daniel Kikichu. He actually did this thing where he, again, brings completely unrelated and distorted things to the debate. I'm looking at it right now. He actually discussing with a Jewish person about the morality of of Judaism, brought a recent news article or a news article that he distorted, where he says that that in Israel there are protests or protesters back troops accused of abuse. A debate erupts on military morality in war, and he's then using this as to imply that Jews believe that they can do whatever they want and they can abuse non-Jews. Because there recently was an incident where the Israeli army actually look. Here's the thing. There were reports that that allegedly the IDF committed acts of abuse against detained Palestinian, terrorists. So that got out there, and the IDF took action and detained, I think, 8 reservists who were accused of being part of abuse against the Palestinian detainees. They released 3 of them, I think, over time, kept the rest for more questioning. But here's the issue. It is actually the Israeli Defense Force themselves, or the Israeli military police themselves, who detain their personnel for wrongdoings, for allegedly abusing detainees. However, here Daniel Kikic comes and accuses Jews and the state of Israel of justifying abuse against non-Jews, which is not even the issue here, which is not even the question here. The IDF includes lots of non-Jews as well. But the thing is, the controversy also is not that people are protesting to release these detained soldiers for who are accused of having abused people. They are saying that these soldiers are accused and persecuted, and that they do not believe for a second that anyone actually sexually abused these detainees. But here again, this is Stanley Kikic completely lying and distorting and accusing others of all kinds of disgusting things, which he would never ever accept if we did that to Muslims.
Yeah, he would never accept it if you said, "Oh, look, they're parading this this girl through the streets and so on." And what does he say? No, they're taking her to the hospital.
Yeah.
They're
Actual
taking her to
things
the
that actually
hospital.
happen that we have all seen. Actual real acts of abuse, he would totally reject it, but then he finds something unrelated and it's twisted in such a way to imply that Jews in general like to abuse non-Jews. This is just so...
Yeah, the rule is
Islamic. This is
Yeah.
Islamic. This is Islamic behavior,
yeah,
honestly.
yeah. And basically anything you can point to, if any Jew does anything, they'll say, "You see, this is what Jews do. This is what
Yeah.
Jews do." And this is standard for Jews. That's what they'll roll with. They would never. You're right. They would never accept that with Islam. I have to say though, if they're complaining about the treatment of a captive, I mean, we all remember Safiya's. So Muhammad married a beautiful woman named Safiya, but that was after torturing and killing her husband to find out where he had hidden money.
Mm-hmm.
So they set a fire on his chest to torture him to find out where the money was hidden, and then they chopped his head off. But so anyway, that's how Muhammad would treat captain. That's just to find money. Imagine if it was a situation where, hey, where are you hiding this girl that you kidnapped? What do you think, Muhammad? What do you think? I mean, I don't know if Muhammad would have cared unless it was like one of his girls, someone he was trying to bang or something like that. But just imagine if he's willing to torture a guy for money, what would he be willing to do in theory if Aisha had been kidnapped and you caught a guy who knew where she was? Think he'd abuse her? I don't know. I think he might. I don't know. Let's see.
But you know what the accusation is, by the way? So there's this detention camp And there is a video circulating which doesn't really show much, but it seems to show that that these soldiers who are reservists are taking a detainee who is an actual Hamas operative to a place that is hidden behind behind a certain behind some object, and then they're covering him up basically and doing something to him. And the accusation is that they are putting something in his behind. But what appears to be the case, which is what the other side argues, is, and you can see it, there is a thing, there is a fence, and on the fence there is a little piece missing. And apparently, the accusation here is that this guy, the Hamas operative, took a piece of the fence and broke it off and hid it in his own behind, to then use it for to assault IDF or to escape.
Oh, so the idea is they're taking it from him.
Yeah, so
And,
they took it out
and
of the idea. The other side says they were actually taking it out of his behind, and then it's like, are you really supposed to do that or not? And this is what the whole discussion is about. And this is not funny at all.
no,
But
if
it's
there's
just
something in
totally
someone's behind, as someone who's been in prison, they do cavity searches. They don't normally go in there unless they have a good reason to definitely think you have something inside you. But they'll do other things. They'll make you squat and cough. Apparently, that'll make something peek out if you have it. But yeah, that's normal. They say drop your pants, drop your drawers, squat, and cough like a gun's gonna fall out or something like that. I've actually asked them that, like, you sitting here and like a gun is falling? But anyway, they talk about people who have had all kinds of stuff stored up in them. Anyway, here's the thing. You're talking about a group of IDF reservists and so on, and there's a question of what they did. You don't see me saying, no, they didn't. They didn't shove something into this guy. I don't know what they did. I know people who are enraged about something can do all kinds of things. That's true of any army. We've seen that with the U.S. in Iraq. There were soldiers who crossed massive lines, did really, really horrible things. If you're a group of IDF guys, you know, hey, if you suppose you're interrogating this guy, you find out he's a guy who raped 3 Israelis. Could you have guys who say, all right, we're going to do something to this guy? Of course you could. Of course that could happen. So I'm not ruling it out. What I would object to is, one, you need to find out what actually happened instead of just automatically going with the most extreme interpretation and saying this is what happened, and not just stopping there, but then saying, see, this is what Jews do, because we know that's Daniel's reasoning. And so,
in all honesty, why would I give a toot about something about what happens to a Hamas operative?
yeah, I mean, you basically want to keep rules for your people that they have to adhere to and so on. And if they cross those lines, you have to deal with it. But yeah, that's not the issue. You can always have people who are crossing lines and doing something messed up, and you could say, well, it's not if this is an actual terrorist and a rapist or something like that. Not a lot of people are going to be crying over it, whatever they did to him. You still want order in your military, and so you would want to make sure they're not doing that. But again, that's not the objection. One, Daniel will assume the absolute worst in every situation if it's from a Jew. He will assume the absolute best if it's from a Muslim. Oh, they're parading this girl's body through the streets. They must be bringing her to a hospital. And they've got a guy behind some shields over there. Oh, they must be gang raping him or something. That's what they do. That's what Hakikachu does. And then he will apply that to Jews again. He will apply that to Jews in general. This is what Jews do. You're dealing with like, I mean, he's such a despicable, evil, like absolute scumbag. I mean, the way he.
But then he will not accept the idea that Muslims or that Islam is responsible for terrorism, despite the fact that the majority of deaths by terrorism in the world are linked to Islamic terrorism. The majority of majority of deaths by terrorism are linked to Islamic terrorism. Yeah.
A couple super chat. Didn't see the beginning. Iraq just passed law. Again, not that I know of. It was a law was proposed. So you want to keep an eye on it, but I don't think that was passed. The leather straps want to see your zabubas. No. Amber Black says, Charlie means well. He didn't know what he was walking into. His judgment was also clouded by his personal hatred of pedos and on his ongoing beef with Sneako after Charlie made fun of him for being... Oh, okay. So he made fun of Sneako for apparently saying at some point that... don't know what the background was, but he was in the room with another guy banging his girlfriend or something like that. And so Charlie
And
made
again,
fun of him for that, and then they agreed to have a discussion, and he thought, hey, I'm going to walk in there, and this guy's going to be defending child marriage, and I get to blast away at him, not realizing Sneako flipped it at the very beginning, and Charlie never recovered.
well, I don't know why Charlie has a problem with why Charlie hates pedophiles.
Yeah, why is that? Desbot says, sent message, then you answered question anyway. It's what we do. It's what we do.
Yeah.
What's the best way to learn about Muhammad's life chronologically? I want a good timeline of his life. That's not hard to find. Matter of fact, you can get a PDF of Robert Spencer's old book, The Truth About Muhammad. I think you could just find that online in PDF version, but he actually goes through a biography. You can get it. You can get a Muslim biography. You just have to. They're going to water down some stuff, but you can get a basic rundown of Muhammad's life.
Or if you actually want to go to the source itself, you can go to Ibn Ishaq's biography, the Sirah of Muhammad, and it's just a lot to read. It's a lot.
Yeah,
to
it's a
read.
big book, but yeah, you have to go
Yeah.
somewhere other than the normal sources like Bukhari and so on, because it's not arranged chronologically. So we feel your pain, bottled gaming, but yeah, pick what you want. If you want a book by a non-Muslim, go with Robert Spencer's Truth About Muhammad. If you want one by a Muslim, you can pick up a biography of Muhammad. Just be aware that they're going to be watering some stuff down.
Beast.
That is a crazy thumbnail. Yep. Ephesians 5:4. Good job, guys. Yep. That's what we do. No comment there. Change comes from within. It's a cultural thing. They marry young so as to groom a girl to be a mental slave, mental conditioning and domination. They are scared of old women. This is something similar to what Andrew Tate said back in the day. He's like, hey, by the time, a girl's 20, she's got all this damage and stuff like this, and you have to retrain her. And so it's better to get them young, because then you program them to be exactly what you want. Let's see. The alien bit was meant to be funny. Sorry. Oh, no, it's, yeah, you had IP acting very weirdly and smiling. Beatrice says, Annie Cyrus gives speeches about how women in Iran are considered adults at 9, and her story of fleeing to the U.S. It would be cool if you invited her for a live stream. You hear this, AP?
Really? Huh, interesting.
Invite Annie
We'll check
Cyrus
it.
so she can break things down.
That's funny. I had a chat. I messaged with her many years ago, probably like 5 years ago or so, and said, "Hey, we should have a conversation." And she was like, "Yeah, totally. I'm totally up for it." But then, ever since, we never talked again. That's how it happens.
Change comes from within. Abstain from dirty talk and dirty jokes. Ephesians 5:4. You can't divorce that. I mean, you can't make that an absolute rule and ignore everything else. Change comes from within. So abstain from dirty talk and dirty jokes and so on. What are we doing? We're exposing a lot of perverse stuff, and yes, we joke about it. If you think that's unacceptable, what does Paul say in Galatians when he's talking about the Judaizers? When they're saying a Gentile convert to Christianity has to become a Jew first and get circumcised and so on, what does he say? He says, "Hey, I wish the people doing that would cut their balls off." He wasn't serious. He didn't want them to do that. He's just making fun of them. So, yeah, you can't lay these down. You can't lay these down as blanket rules. If we're making fun of a lot of child marriage and a bunch of stuff with the Dawa guys and so on, you're just talking about some weird, wild, creepy stuff. D. Wood, have you ever intellectually molested anyone? Be honest, and did you like it when you did it?
For those who don't get the joke, this is what
Mohammed
this is-
Hijab, you've been intellectually
Hijab.
molested. That's how they talk. Hook Charlie up with IP's notes from the debate. Yeah, that should be. I just told IP recently. I said you should put your research together in a little book that everyone can have handy for situations when these guys are going to be debating, and they can have all the relevant information ready. Iraq trying to lower the age of marriage to 9, and Muslims in the country are protesting. Make it make sense. Their prophet married a 6-year-old. That's true. Learning more and changing is innovation. That's true.
That's true.
Mumu Joe says, I can't imagine any woman thinking a 10-year-old is mature. Muslim men, well, the animals, yes, it's a bit racist, but women, should I have told him, can you imagine yourself At 9 years old, this debate makes me so sad for the world. I'm officially broke. Yeah, this is super creepy, wild stuff. I have a long clip that's like 40 minutes from this debate, and we've only gotten through a few. What have we gotten through? Like 8 minutes of it, 8 or 10 minutes. So we're definitely not going to watch the entire thing. It's going to take too long. I do want to get to a little later in the section where Sneako really burns him up. I mean, burns him up. But it's something that people need to be ready for. You need to be ready.
Someone
for it.
can legally drive. They should
we've
be able
actually
to.
gone through 10 minutes. Oh, Matt, let's listen to the point right here where Charlie's saying that Sneako has pointed out that if someone is legally allowed to drive, they should be legally allowed to get married.
Reach maturity. That makes much more logical
That's
sense.
even more vague, though. But also, you directly
It's vague
did
because
say
it's
to me
different for
that
everybody.
when someone can legally drive, they should be able to legally marry. You did say that to me.
Right.
You
When
can
somebody
legally
when
drive.
somebody is legally ready to drive, the same thing. I think adults should drive cars. That's why I told you that.
Yeah, but 15 and 16-year-olds can drive cars. You said when someone can legally drive
Across the
they
world,
should
15
legally
and
marry.
16-year-olds can have sex too. I think that people should not
see, that's-
operate. But see, you keep thinking that I'm saying this because I want the age to be lowered. That's not what I'm talking about at all.
That's what it
wants it
comes
gone.
across as,
He
though.
wants the
When
whole-
you
Maybe
say
maybe
that,
with the
you are-
internet brain because people in the West, they want to have sex all the time and they have a different sort of mindset. Right here in the Middle East, I'm in the Middle East right now.
Here we go.
They want to get married and then have sex. So people, just because I'm saying this does not mean automatically lower. No. That's not the case at all. I want to ask you then, because you're
Look at how he keeps flipping it back. I want to ask you. Yeah, so guys, what Sneako will eventually flesh out, and we're going to have to skip most of it. What Sneako's position is that it should be a family decision. The father should decide with the daughter that she's going to get married. That's the system he wants in place.
Why is it bad to simply? I'm not asking about whether it is bad or not to have sex before marriage, but I'm just curious about one thing. If it is okay to marry and then have sex with a 12-year-old, or he didn't say 12, 15, with a 15-year-old, for example, why is it bad to just have sex with the 15-year-old, putting completely aside the fact that you believe sex before marriage is wrong? Why would it be bad to have sex with a 15-year-old? He doesn't actually have a response to this. He doesn't actually think that it's wrong to have sex with a 15-year-old. He just acts like this is what the conversation is about. I don't actually think that Sneako knows what he's talking about. I don't think that he actually thinks this through. I don't think he actually understands the logic between what he's arguing and what he's saying in response to Moist's.
Yeah, I think they gave him a script and told him to learn this script.
Yeah. And he says, I don't want to lower the age of marriage, but this is what you think about, because in the West, you just, everyone wants to just, have sex. Okay. What about in the Muslim world? Well, in the Muslim world, they marry and then have sex. So they also want to have sex.
Mm-hmm.
And you think they should be able to have sex when they are younger, just through marriage. So why are you saying you don't want to lower the age of marriage? It's just, none of this makes any sense. He's just going by a script and not understanding what he's actually saying. It's so dumb.
Indeed. All right. So, yeah, they talk about this a lot. Let's fast forward. Wanted to get to one point where Sneako burnt this dude up. Let's see. Not sure exactly where it was.
18's an adult. No, you said, but listen, because you did. I heard you double up a couple
I know
times.
what you're going to harp on here.
No,
yes.
you did.
I
You
get
said
it.
you said 18's an adult, and then you said adults like you, because you think 25's an adult now, because that's when you're. Why? So why is it? Let me ask you this:
18
Why
is an adult.
Why is it not 20? Why is it not 25?
It's because that's not what was established. Like,
No,
that's
I'm asking
just not what
you
was
because
established.
you believe in personal beliefs. I believe in some. My morality comes from the Quran.
No, it doesn't.
You believe in personal beliefs. Why is it not 25? 25 is when the frontal.
Sneako, your morality does not come from the Quran. Your morality, as you're describing it, is coming from a handful of dawah guys who've told you what to say.
Yes.
If your morality came from the Quran, you would not be saying that 12 is too young. and you wouldn't be saying
Yes.
that puberty is some sort of rule, and you wouldn't be saying
Yeah.
that the question is maturity, because
Yes.
that's not what the Quran says. It's not what the Quran
Yes.
says. So, but anyway,
Yes.
I'm looking for this particular point. It is not this. I don't know where it was. Let's see.
Yes.
He lagged out.
Hello?
Hey, you back?
Yep.
Okay. I don't want to miss this line of questions. Are you good? Can you turn your camera on and off? Oh no, you're good. You're good. Okay.
Wait. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, you're good. If somebody can have, okay, do you believe that somebody can go through hormone therapy? Can they change their
Here
gender
we go.
if they're a child?
Guys, this I'm bringing this out because everyone in the comments said Sneako burnt him up on this point. I would have to agree. Which means you all need to prepare for this, because every young Dawa fan is now prepared for this. If they're arguing against someone like Charlie here, this would not work with someone who has a different position. If you have the position that Charlie has, so he believes that it's okay to transition a boy to a girl, like even if he's young. I don't know if he says how young, but let's suppose you believe that a 9-year-old can transition from boy to girl, and so Sneako raises the objection. Hey, if a 9-year-old boy, again, this is not his, they don't say the ages, I don't think, but if you believe a kid can decide to transition from boy to girl, how do you then say that that same kid is not capable of making a decision about marriage or something like that?
Yeah, it looks like this is just going into this. This is something that he could totally cook Charlie Brown on.
Charlie gets cooked. Charlie gets cooked repeatedly on this. So we'll watch a little part of this.
I think that's totally fine as long as everyone is consenting, as you agree with.
Did you see that? Sneako asked him, you think a child can transition from boy to girl? Why would you think that's okay? And he says, as long as they're consenting.
Interesting.
So that's how he just got burned up. But let's go ahead and let so notice Sneako just bust out laughing. My goodness, when Sneako cracks up laughing at your inconsistency. Sneako?
Imagine getting destroyed by Sneako, man.
And him laughing at your inconsistency. Oh my goodness, let's see.
Okay, so as long as
If
everyone,
your parents are okay with it and you are okay with it, I think that's
Sneako just spent the last 30 minutes arguing, hey, this should be a matter of kids can consent, and if you get parental consent and the kids consent, who are you to say no? Who's the government to step in there and say no? And Charlie saying, no, you got to go with the government. The government says this. The government says this. The government says it. And then you get down to, hey, what do you say about that? Oh, well, it's, as long as the parents and the kids consent, who are we to judge? It's insane. It's insane.
Charlie Brown has been destroyed by Sneako.
Charlie Brown.
totally a familiar decision to make, yeah.
okay, so a child can cut their penis off and take hormone blockers and change their biology forever, but they can't get married?
Oh, that's a decision that now extends beyond the family, because now you're bringing in a different party.
Horrible response. Horrible response.
What?
So he very quickly tried to distinguish, okay, what's the difference between a child getting married and a child transitioning? And the only difference he could come up with to say one is wrong and one is fine is, well, if a child's getting married, now you're bringing another person in.
Okay, well, how does that have any relevance?
Nothing.
At all?
And Sneako points out, wait, if your kid is transitioning, you're bringing other people in. You got the doctor, you got the pharmacy that's giving them you are bringing other people into this process. So Sneako just burns them up. I don't know. I mean, how's this guy popular? I mean, he's really stupid reasoning here, as far as I can tell.
Well, the problem is, as far as I understand, he was a what is he, a gamer or something? This is the problem. It's
So he's popular for being a gamer.
I don't think he's popular for his opinions. Pretty sure he's popular for other things. Yeah, YouTuber, streamer, commentary videos, and live streams covering internet culture and video games. His content is mostly characterized by his monotonous voice, white shirt, deadpan comedic style, and long hair. Esports organization. Yeah, gaming and commentary on regular things. This is just this is the problem with. It's kind of similar to when people look at celebrities who are popular because of their music, and then they ask, did they give them
what are
a
your
platform
views on
to
philosophy?
talk about politics and things like that. These people are not popular because of their opinions. They're popular because they do different things that appeal to people that are not quite deep in this realm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have two people basically who are like that. And one is just manhandling the other. And
Yeah.
let's let them said Sneako burn him up a little. I can't believe we're watching something where Sneako's burning a guy up, but
I know.
hats off, Sneako, hats off.
So if you have someone
business.
that's your age coming in saying, I want to marry that child, I don't think that can happen under any circumstance.
So,
no.
but it's still a personal decision. You're still deciding.
It's
but no,
still-
but it's,
no, because there's
take
a-
the other
it's
party
more
out of
than
the
a personal
equation.
decision now.
It's a personal
It's
decision.
not.
If I'm 16 and I personally want to marry this girl, she's beautiful. She's 21 years old. Her family wants to do it. My family wants to do it. You're saying I can't do that. We're both consenting. I'm ready to go. I'm physically mature, but I'm not allowed to marry because Moy says that woman's a pedophile. But if then the next day I leave it, I'm depressed, I want to cut my penis off, I can go right into the clinic, snip it off, and start taking HRT like Chris Tyson.
you
That's
go.
a society that makes sense to you?
There you go.
It is. I believe
Yeah, okay.
everyone has complete. Yep, I believe that.
Destroyed.
Look at Sneako
Destroyed.
smiling like, wow, I'm not used to this. I'm just crushing this deal. What is going on here? What's going on?
I didn't think I would win it like this. This is wow. I'm doing a fantastic job here right now. Really moist. You really gave this one to Sneako, undoubtedly. I don't think anyone watched this and thought, wow, Moist made a very good point. Sneako is very bad. Has no response. I think everyone could agree here that Sneako totally destroyed Moisty.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. So, guys, this goes on for a little while like this. There's a link to the discussion on Sneako's Rumble channel. That's in the description box if you want to watch the full thing. But basically, this is all it is as far as I've seen. He's going to burn him up on this for a little while longer. He's going to call him out saying, wait a minute, there are other people involved in a transition, lots of other people. So you can't say other people involved are the criterion and so on. And the other thing that we that we don't have time to go through, the other sort of big issue is that Charlie keeps adopting various relativist positions on morality, and he's like, oh no, but that's your decision, that might vary from person to person, and then Sneako will jump all over him for that. Well, what if I decide this? What if I decide that? How is that anyone else's business? Government relativism, whatever your government says, that's what's right and wrong, and so on. And so it's just completely incoherent. But guys, if you're getting into a discussion on child marriage, this is what you need to be ready for. This is not difficult. Sneako is only doing a great job here because he's going into a situation where the person doesn't know where this is coming from, has no idea what the actual arguments are, and Sneako flipped the burden of proof over to him to defend 18 as some sort of line in the sand that shall not be crossed or something. And so they never actually, as far as I know, I didn't watch the rest. So as far as I know, they never actually deal with the issue in Islam, which is that Muhammad, who is called a pattern, the ideal pattern of conduct for men to follow, had sex with a prepubescent 9-year-old girl. And the Quran allows men to have sex with prepubescent 9-year-old girls. In fact, one more time, and then we'll turn it over to Super Chats. Here's Muhammad Hijab one more time.
If you look just at the Quran, you will get the indication that you can have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old. The reason why it's haram to have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old is not found in the Quran at all. If you just read the Quran, it is halal. It would be halal to have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old.
It would be halal. What did Sneako say? He says, I get my morality from the Quran. Muhammad Hijab just said, if you just go with the Quran, you would say it's halal to have sex with a 5-year-old.
In Surah Al-Talaq, chapter 65, verse 4, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us who you can divorce and who you cannot divorce. And then he says, وَاللَّائِ لَمْ يَحِدْنَ. وَاللَّائِ لَمْ يَحِدْنَ. And the ones who had never been pubescent before. And by the way, this is very important, yeah? I want all Muslims to be aware of this. The reason why we don't have sexual intercourse with 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds or whatever is not because of puberty. Wait a minute, what did you say? It's not because of puberty, because that verse in the Quran actually says lam yahid. They never had puberty before.
Never had puberty.
You can't go around that. The Quran doesn't
You see what he said? Can't go around that. Can't go around that.
say anywhere in the Quran that the woman has to be pubescent. I dare you to find one verse in the Quran
Triple
where
dog
it says you're not allowed to marry someone based on harm, or you're not allowed to have sexual intercourse based on harm, or you're not allowed to marry someone based on puberty. So if you're Quran alone, you're allowed to have sexual intercourse with 5-year-olds. Get me one verse in the Quran which says the woman has to be pubescent.
Just one.
One verse. I want one verse in the Quran from the beginning of the book to the end of the book which says that she has to be pubescent. So okay, so that makes it halal from your perspective. From your perspective, it's halal. You know, in the Quran it says حُرِّمَتْ عَلَيْكُمْ أُمَّهَاتُكُمْ. It says you're not allowed to marry your mum. It says you're not allowed to marry your sister, your auntie. Where does it say you're not allowed to marry a prepubescent? I'm looking for one verse that you can say, you pinpoint it and say this is where it says prepubescent marriage or whatever is not allowed. So if you're Quran alone, you're steered towards pedophilia, and a severe type of pedophilia, a wife abuse, a severe type of wife abuse.
You have to specify that it's severe type of pedophilia and severe type of abuse, because in Islam you're generally steering toward abuse and pedophilia. So it's the problem that it would be severe, according to Muhammad Hijab.
Yeah, and guys, just to be fair, once again, Muhammad Hijab is not saying it's okay to go around having sex with 5-year-old girls. He's just saying that's the conclusion.
We just heard him. We just heard him right there. What are you talking about? We
So
just
you
heard
have
him
it from the Quran, you could do that. But you look at the Hadith and see that Muhammad waited a little longer, so there must be something that you're waiting a little bit longer for. But he specifies it's not puberty. What you're waiting for is not puberty. Now we know from the schools of Islamic jurisprudence what they were actually waiting for. You're waiting for the girl to at least be old enough to where you're not going to crush her if you climb on top of her. Like, she can't be so fragile that you're going to break her. And you have to be concerned about fistulas. So if she's so tiny that by penetrating her, you're going to rip her open. So anyway, when they say mature or to avoid harm, they're not talking about anything that you would think. They're not talking about what you would think of as mature. They're talking about what they mean. It's something completely different. And it's some pretty sick stuff. And Sneako still doesn't know what he's defending. He doesn't know, because when Sneako sits down for a discussion about Muhammad Hijab on child marriage, what does Hijab say? Oh, but a 16-year-old can be developed. It varies from person to person. The exact same stuff Sneako is saying now. They don't tell him. They don't tell him what he's actually defending as a Muslim, which is child marriage with a prepubescent little girl. They don't tell him that. He's going to find out. They're trying to ease him into that, but he's going to find out.
Not sure why you're defending that guy. We clearly heard him on video saying that it's okay to marry a little child.
No, he said what's the case is Allah says it's halal. It's halal according to Allah, but he worships actual hadith collectors and so on who want you to wait a little longer, or they want you to wait a little bit longer.
Oh, so he takes the hadith collectors and scholars as deities besides Allah.
Yep, he does. Guys, we're not joking. We're not joking about that. Muhammad said, if Allah tells you something that regarding halal and haram, and you listen to a man and you let the man overrule Allah, you're worshiping that man.
Yeah.
So Hijab admits basically that he worships men. Sneaky really wants to have them really young. What is wrong with this dude? How about love and waiting till they are really ready, sick? Well, Sneako says it's not for him. He's just, I guess he's just defending Islam here. Beatrice
Sounds
says,
pretty good when you say that Muhammad Hijab worships men.
Yeah, he does. Oh, not according to me. According to his own prophet, he worships men. He looks forward to the days when it will be raining men. And he even said in that recent little clip, remember that? He told Sneako that believing Jesus is God is worse than men having sex with each other. It's crazy because he said this in a hotel room with Sneako. Can you imagine this? Hey, Sneako, some people think it's really bad, but it's not really bad. There are worse things like believing in Jesus.
Think about it,
Jesus is
Sneako.
Lord. Ugh.
We could have a very good time together, Sneako.
Let me come sit on my lap and let me read you stories about Dihya al-Kalbi. Nasty stuff, man. This is gross stuff. Anyway, Beatrice says 1 year of hormones acting on you is not equal to 3 years of that, 6 years, 8 years, and 16 is twice as old, twice as experienced as a 9-year-old. This whole discussion is gross. Yes, especially when you realize like what they're actually after. If you had no clue what was going on here, and Sneako's just going, why 18? Why that? I mean, it's different in other countries. It's different. Why not 16 or 17? You'd think, okay, yeah, you're right. There's nothing like it's not some magical number or something like that. So you could actually when you find out it's actually he's becoming their poster boy to defend child marriage, so that they can ultimately get back to Muhammad's way of doing things, which is having sex with prepubescent little girls. This is evil, man. This is like sick, evil stuff.
Imagine the Dawa war room. Like, all right, distribution of duties.
We should make a video. Dawa War Room. That should be a series, man.
Sneako, you have been very, very, very good on the front of defending child marriage. You will be part of the child marriage team.
Yeah, dude, we could have Shake Your Booty, and we could have the Dawa War. We could have an entire series called the Dawa War Room. That's just like every time they do something or use some new argument or something like this, we instantly make a video, the Dawa War Room, about how they planned that.
That's a good idea.
That's funny.
That's a good idea.
Kasai says, when I was younger, I considered converting to Islam. I found you when doing more research on it, and you cut me off that path. Thank you for your work. Yes.
Big mistake. Shame on you.
That's what we do. That's what we do. And glad we could help. Change comes from within says, 12 is too young. Sneako just had an epiphany. And I'm going to point out that epiphany. I'm going to point that one out. That's going to be a separate video. First says, ex-Muslim hijabi who still lives in the closet. Oh, here you go. Ex-Muslim hijabi who still lives in the closet. I appreciate what y'all are doing here. Keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you.
You keep up being safe. You keep up being safe and try to get to a safer place if you can. Monologic says, I just want to thank both of you for standing up for what is right and moral, justice for the girls abused by the grooming gangs in Britain. Now, guys, keep in mind that's connected. All that stuff's connected. Them viewing girls as, think about the things we talked about earlier. Them viewing young girls as appropriate sex partners, combined with, remember we were talking about Sneako saying, but everything has to be in the context of marriage. No, you can capture girls. And they're thinking, we can't go out and capture them militarily, but we can capture these girls in our neighborhood. Of course we can. It's entirely justified in their heads.
I would just like to point out that talking about grooming gangs and things like that, rape cases and grooming gangs in the UK, is a very sensitive topic and might cause backlash against Muslims in general. So. Always keeping that in mind. I think people should abstain from talking about grooming gangs and about immigration and rape gangs and things like that. Always take into consideration that this is a form of bigotry and possibly Islamophobic.
You know what's funny is apostate Aladdin is probably watching right now, going, "Wow, it's good to see that the apostate prophet is coming around to my way of thinking." That's exactly what we need to be doing. Isn't that wild? Love you, Brother David. Islam teaches pedophilia. Yeah, indisputably it does. Guys, so again, we went through the criteria, the psychological criteria for diagnosing someone with pedophilic disorder. Pedophilic disorder. Sexually attracted to or committing sexual acts with a prepubescent child. Check. Muhammad did that. Has to be older. So at least 5 years older. So at least 16 and at least 5 years older than the other person. Muhammad did that. What is that? If Muhammad were alive today, he would be diagnosed with pedophilic disorder.
Mahmoud.
see. Vagabond says Charlie is generally Charlie is a generally good dude. I get that. I get that vibe. That's the only thing I recall ever seeing from him. But he seems like a good. Doesn't seem. I'm not sitting there looking at him going, this guy's evil or something like that. What is he doing? He's trying to challenge Sneako on child marriage. Just wish he'd been better informed about what he's dealing with. But he doesn't have any idea of how Islam works. He doesn't focus on it in his content. Hey, Charlie, I have a suggestion for you. In order to clean up the mess you just created, have the apostate prophet on a show with you to explain what you're actually dealing with. Have AP on there to actually go through what the Muslim sources say, and he can explain where Sneako's actually getting this from. And it's not just his friendly concerns about different. Hey, there are different ages of consent in different places in the world. Who are we to say? That's not the issue.
They'll be
That's a
pretty
smoke
big.
screen. Yeah, so guys, why don't, like Vagabond or some of the rest of you, if you guys know where to contact Charlie, why don't you suggest having AP on a show with him to break some of this stuff down? Because that can't be the end of it.
I always liked. I kind of liked the Charlie Brown cartoons. I think they're very, very nice. They have a very peaceful. Who doesn't love Charlie Brown?
You know what's funny is I saw those when I was like really little, like 4 and stuff like that, and I didn't remember. I just remember they call him a blockhead. I remember they call him a blockhead. I was like, wow, these kids are mean, always calling Charlie Brown a blockhead. And then when I was like, I guess in my 30s, my kids were watching the Charlie Brown special, and he's charged with he has the task of going out and picking out the tree, and he picks out like the ugliest, worst tree there is. And I was like, oh, he actually does like stupid stuff. Is that why they call him blockhead? He actually does really stupid stuff. Anyway, that made it completely different.
Yeah, that's why.
Let's see. Jack says, what I see here is that Sneako can crack leave Islam. Yeah, that's why we definitely want to be pushing this stuff, guys. You want to be, especially those of you, if any of you actually watch Sneako's live streams and stuff, I'll make a little video going through what he has just said. He has repeatedly, just in the clips we watch, he repeatedly condemned Muhammad without realizing it. So you actually want to bring it up to him. Say, hey, you claim you get morality from Islam. You're contradicting Islam. You're contradicting the Quran. You're contradicting Muhammad. You've already condemned Muhammad. So what? Make him make his decision. Am I siding with Muhammad? Or am I recognizing, gosh, Muhammad violated everything, even I believe? Want to make him make the decision. I have a criticism to both of you guys. Well, then I'll block you. Sorry to say, but you guys keep saying children when it's actually children. Please correct that. Thanks. I have to say, Ash, you're lying. AP regularly says children. I've heard him say it many, many times.
But I do admit that I might sometimes forget it and say children instead. So
no one's perfect, Ash. No one's perfect. I'm not going to ban AP just for occasionally saying children.
I will try to be better.
Do better. Lucid says, I still like Harris Sultan's prediction that in 15 years, Britain and Sweden will be Islamic states and Arabia and Iran will be democracies. Yeah, I don't think Britain and Sweden are going to be Islamic states, but
because they are already.
Iran, I think, is going to be a democracy.
I hope so. There was a time when I didn't think that that military intervention into Iran would be a good idea. I think I have changed my mind in the meantime.
You're allowed to be wrong. Justin Dune says, do women in Islam have to get to marry 6-year-old boys? We've pointed out this is just never the discussion. It's just not the discussion that comes up about whether adult women can be marrying little boys. It's never the issue, which kind of shows you where this is coming from. That this isn't just hey, this is about families and so. No, it's not. It's about creepy old Heaven's Gate perverts wanting to bang little girls. That's what it's about. And it's about people who say, no, you can't do that. And then the people who want to bang them trying to justify their pedophilia.
And had Muhammad not married a little girl, we probably wouldn't be having this discussion at all.
Mm-hmm. We wouldn't. Joshua says, I come to...
are worshipping Muhammad, and that's the problem here.
Mm-hmm. Joshua says, I come to learn. These streams are mostly depraved jokes from sick viewers that I learned is AP fans are gross and D-Wood fans hate Mike Winger. Help us, IP. Too late, IP's not here.
That's what makes these shows great, man. What are you talking about?
IP's not here to help you, Joshua. Stuck with us. Are there good Aisha biographies? There are sources that will like write something just focusing on an individual. Like there's one about Fatima and so on. I'm assuming there's a biography somewhere about Aisha. I'm also entirely confident it will be the most whitewashed nonsense in the world. It'll all be about how it's like the most romantic story ever. But yeah, generally you go to the sources and you find all the hadiths about Aisha, and that'll give you the best you can get. What's up?
It would be funny if there was a if there was a movie about the life of Aisha, accurately depicted. No, not accurately depicted. It would be very inappropriate, but in a way, to make it work somehow, it would be interesting to have. I mean, I'm just proposing it. I just think that people should know more about Islam. I'm all for more Islamic content, and I encourage Muslims also to push for a historically and textually accurate movie about the life of Aisha. Please make it happen. Thanks.
A prostate's prophet, Habibi, my leather straps have been waiting all day. What is this weird AP fan nonsense? Bottled Gaming says, so you want me to look up a PDF file about a pedophile in a stream about pedophilia. This is what it's like researching Islam pedoception.
This is a good point.
Let's see.
Beast.
Let's see. That one Jewish girl says, not going to lie, the Abu Ubaidah face reveal is sexy. They finally reveal that dude's face?
What?
That Hamas guy?
Are you pranking us? What's happening? I know that people were saying Abu Ubaidah is missing. He hasn't said anything in a while.
Oh, no. I'm seeing the Times of Israel says IDF claims to reveal identity of Hamas's military spokesman Abu Ubaidah.
Really?
Yep, he sure is dreamy.
I didn't see it. Where is it?
Well, if you just type in Abu Ubaidah, this pops up as, what's the article? Times of Israel. How long ago is this? Oh, no, that's 2023. It's October 2023.
No, it's probably not true.
So we've known how hot that guy is for a little while. Not as hot as Dihya Al-Kalbi, but still pretty handsome dude.
I know that he's very, very desirable, and all the women in the who support Palestine want to. I lust after Abu Ubaidah all the time, but it's still we still don't know what he actually looks like.
Let's see. Change comes from within says, no, I mean in principle. Oh, I think this is about the Ephesians thing earlier. No, I mean in principle, and your followers have some sick things to say. Yes, they do. You should expose. Good jobs, guys. Yes.
Beast.
Followers do say some sick stuff, like this guy's a prostate's prophet. Sneako learning the ways of Daniel Papikachu. Yeah, that's the concern. You have Daniel Hakikachu and Muhammad Hijab and Ali Dawa, and they formulated their responses over a time, but now they're feeding those their responses to a younger generation who's going out with a different crowd, and they're going to spout this nonsense to a bunch of other people. And so you just have to be relentless. They are relentless in spreading evil, sick, depraved, idiotic nonsense, and so we have to be relentless in responding to it. Cam says, in the Middle East, they want to have sex with beardless men. Wife, gay friend was told to grow a beard because of the men there. Watch out, Sneako. Yeah, Sneako doesn't have a beard. Sneako would have a problem over there. Oh. That's why they start telling him stories about Dihya. Yo, AP, how'd you like my video? I'm posting another next week about how Muslim women enable the abuse of non-Muslim women by Muslim men. Yeah, that one Jewish girl, I clicked on your channel and it was a 30-minute video, which means that would have to be saved till a time when I have a 30-minute section to watch a video. Long story short, I did not watch it because I did not have enough time to watch it when I saw that it was a 30-minute video.
Oh, you
I,
actually show your
I,
face.
I still will check it out. It's just going to have to be when I'm not. It's going to have to be like when I'm doing something where I have 30 minutes to spare.
Same. I haven't watched it yet. That one Jewish girl. Have to watch it.
We
I'll
will
put it
check
on
it
my
out
watch.
because
And then never.
we do want people making content. We do, and we want to help people as much as possible.
I will put it on my watch later list and then never get back to it ever again.
That's what he does.
Yeah. Just I'll watch it.
I'd like to see Sneako try to debate the greatest Christian scholarly at and apologize. Mike Winger, why are you stuttering, Sneako? Alhamdulillah. Yeah. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if Sneako tried to debate Mike Winger on this stuff? And Sneako's like, explain this, and Mike Winger's like, oh, I can't. I don't even know. I can't think of an episode of Star Trek that addressed this. I don't know what to do. It'd be embarrassing. It'd be way worse. Be way worse than the Moist Critical thing.
Well, I think Mike Winger is kind of like the end boss in terms of opponents, in terms of finding a proper opponent for a debate. And I would say that first you would have to get past IP. I would say IP comes right before Mike Winger. He would probably have to get past me, then you, then IP, eventually Mike Winger. If anybody can, debate and actually defeat Mike Winger in a debate, that would mean a lot.
Yeah, guys, AP is clearly joking here. Mike Winger would probably end up just agreeing with Sneako. Like after like 2 minutes. Well, that's a great point. You've really given me something to think about, Sneako. All right, I can't condemn anything. Something like that. Shameful and embarrassing. Pamela says, society without God, we are depraved when we choose to not want God. This is the result. Evil, perversion, child marriage, etc. Read Bible, repent, accept God, judgment coming, evil will be destroyed. Watch the free movie, 4K, The Ark and the Darkness. I've not heard of that before. The Ark and the Darkness.
We live in a society.
D Wood AP, thank you again for all you do. God bless.
Thank you.
We do like what we do. It's actually pretty cool that we get to spend all this time just exposing evil stuff.
Yeah, pretty based.
Would you say most Muslims are ignorant of these things in their scripture? I would. I would say they may have a general notion about something about Muhammad and Aisha. You have a lot more Muslims than there were 20 years ago who know about Muhammad and the actual age of Aisha because we popularized it. We popularized this over the years. But lots of the stuff we bring up, yeah, you just have tons of Muslims. They do not know what's in their sources. They don't know. I found that out. I was surprised because when I was interacting with Muslims early on, I'm interacting with like Nabil and stuff, and he's very knowledgeable and reads and argues and stuff like that, based on he's constantly like reading books to respond to challenges and so on. And then you see other Muslims, they're going out, they're dressed in a certain way, they're going to the mosque, they're carrying the Quran. You think, they're very knowledgeable about their religion. You start having a discussion. Apart from the basics, like the basic practices, they have no clue what's in the Quran, none, except for the parts that are constantly reinforced. So that's bad. That's bad because they don't know. When someone comes along and says Muhammad's the greatest man ever, they don't know any better. They don't know about all the problems. So that's bad. But the positive is that it allows us to be. How did I do that? It allows us to be the people who bring them the information. So when the Muslim you're talking to says Muhammad's the greatest man ever, and you say, what about all these things? And that person goes, why did my leaders never tell me any of those things you're bringing up? And at first they're going to think you're making them up, and then you show them from their own source, and then they go, whoa, my leaders have been lying to me. And that's someone who's on his way out of Islam.
Yep, that's what they do. Most Muslims don't know very much about what their sources actually say. That is the correct perspective. Alhamdulillah.
Ali says, I am a Muslim, and I do not blame these guys to say why they say because the Bukhari says it, period. I'm a Muslim, and I have a book about this. Yeah, that's good. And we're fine with that. If you say, hey, you don't blame us for saying things, you're okay with us. Razi says, do you guys know any good way to tell one's parents that you're an ex-Muslim and I don't live with them? May God bless both of you. That would be a good question for you, AP.
Do you guys know any good way to tell one's parents that you're an ex-Muslim and I don't live with them? Mega. Well, it's I would like to say that I have great experience in that, and you can totally ask me, and I can tell you totally how to act. The reality is that I actually didn't tell my parents until they found out, because I have always had a
Same with
tendency
Nabil, by the
of
way. They
I've
found
always
out.
had a
He did not tell
tendency
them.
of avoiding conflict with my parents, especially because they were so proud and so happy when many years before that I became very devout and would pray and read and study all the time, everything Islamic. Later, revealing to them that I'm no longer a Muslim felt a little bit rough. I never did it until they found out, and they didn't take it very well. They didn't kill me, but I would say you have nothing really to lose except your dear relationship with them. And if you think it is very important that you represent yourself accurately and live, um, and openly show who you are and stay true to yourself, and you value truth over having a proper relationship with them, if that is at risk, just gather yourself and say it. Only happens once. I don't know.
Yeah, and I have to say, it's going to depend on a number of factors. One, are your parents the kind who are going to try to take you out, or is it going to hurt their feelings and they're going to try and? I have to say there are a couple different reactions I've seen from experience. There are the parents, which seems very common. They're the parents who try to convert the kid back, so they take you to various scholars and dawa guys to try and convert you back and so on. There are the others who just say, okay, don't talk to us anymore. We're breaking things off until you come back to Islam. And then you have like you do have occasionally some violent ones who are, okay, we're going to do something to you for being a shame to our family or something like that. So you have to factor things in like that. You have to factor in where you are, and what kind of danger you're in. If it's just a relationship thing, yeah, that's going to come down to it. But like AP was talking about, Nabil didn't tell his parents. It was so he became a Christian, and then got to a point where he wanted to be baptized. So I was going to baptize him, and as we're getting close to his baptism, I say, "Have you told your parents yet?" And he's like, "No." I'm like, well, that's your baptism. And keep in mind, I'm not saying this as an ironclad rule. If you were in some place where you're going to be in danger, you want to get baptized, you want it to be public to someone who might do something to you. I'm not saying go tell everyone who might harm you and so on. With Nabil in particular, his parents were kind of not on the level of like an idol that you worship, but he just had, he really, really, really idolized, again, not in the worship sense, but really, just absolutely loved and adored his parents and so on. And I was saying, for him in particular, saying, you need to tell your parents, man. If you're getting baptized, you need to tell your parents before then. He was saying, no, I'll tell them some other time. I go, no, you need to tell them beforehand. And he said, no, I've decided I'm going to tell them later when it's right. And I go, well, I don't want to baptize you unless you have told your parents. And he said, you're going to baptize me anyway. It's already scheduled. And he says, you're not going to not do it. And I said, fine, I'm going to pray that your parents find out. And so I actually prayed. And this is a hilarious part. This is through email. We're going back and forth through email. And I'm telling him this through email. And then he came home to his apartment from school, and his parents were in there. And he had left his computer open with this discussion in it. So he comes back home to his apartment, and his parents were in there waiting him. They had their own key, and they had read this email exchange, and they were there. So anyway, that's how his parents found out about it.
I just want to say, I think in the past, I would have I at different points I gave more direct and more I give different responses to people that were more inciting, like, hey, just go and do it, just say it, just be public about it, everyone be public about it. I have been, I guess it's kind of like it's kind of for emotional reasons or for different reasons. I feel a little bit unsure about what to say when people ask, because when people ask, there is an amount of responsibility. Any answer that you give here can influence other people to make that decision. And I know for a fact that in a lot of people's lives, unfortunately, because of the cancer that Islam is, in a lot of people's life, it can be devastating, it can be depressing, it can be harmful in different levels. I personally know very well. It really, for many years, it caused so much suffering to me personally on an emotional level, to for my parents to find out that I'm an ex-Muslim. It really severely harmed my relationship with them and relationships that I had from very early ages with other people. And it's not a nice thing, because it makes you think at some point, why did I even ever do this? Why did I even tell anyone? Why did I even leave? And it can be really, really difficult. And the emotional aspect aside, I've communicated with and know of people who went through much more than just that, whose lives were in danger, who had to switch countries and hide because people were coming to harm them. So it really depends on where you are and what your relationship with your parents is, how your parents are, who they are, how they would react to this. It's very much a decision that I think I am not personally in a place to give to everyone online.
Yeah, so I would agree with what AP is saying. As I pointed out, that it's going to depend on the situation. If you are in a position where you're not going to die, and guys, for those of you who are watching and aren't familiar with it, if you're a Muslim and you really love your parents and you're about to give your Muslim parents the most painful, devastating news they could ever hear, that their child no longer believes in Islam, that's not as easy a decision as lots of people are familiar. You don't want to break your parents' heart if you love them. So that's why it's difficult. But at the same time, you don't want to keep them in the dark the entire time. And if you have recognized that Islam is bad for the world, you probably don't want to just continue pretending to be a Muslim and so on. So these are very, very difficult situations. I would say if you're to a point where you want to tell your parents, I would probably send them a message or something. And if you wanted to initiate it and you're in a place where you're not going to be killed over it or something, probably just say, hey, Mom and Dad, quick question. Suppose you had a child who didn't believe in Islam anymore. Would you still love him? Something like that. Might want to start up, think about how you phrase it and see what they respond. Because hopefully that puts it in their minds wait a minute, aren't we supposed to love our child anyway? And keep in mind, you have Muslim sources that say no. Hopefully this is a situation where they're better parents than their religion calls them to be.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is there a hadith or Quran verse about the bakabazi, or is it a cultural thing that's isolated in Afghanistan, Pakistan, etc.? You do have some creepy stuff about boy servants and so on. As far as what's going on with the bakabazi, that seems to be a cultural thing that people could try to justify and so on, but it seems a cultural thing to me. What do you think, AP? Any thoughts on that, AP?
No.
Okay. If Creepy was an Olympic event, who would win the gold? Daniel, Sneako, or Candace Owens? Go with Daniel.
Daniel, definitely.
Yeah, Daniel. Daniel would win any creepy contest against anyone in any Olympics. D Wood, there was a long time when you didn't mock Mike Winger. So my question is, what happened? Well, I realized that he is the worst person in the world and a huge nerd. I don't know how else I can make it any clearer. Divine Mercy says, AP, did you see Harris Sultan's new video on apostate Aladdin? I saw that he posted one. I didn't watch the video. You want to kind of ignore this stuff. I think we should actually go through it and respond because no, seriously, you are going to have people who are trying to divide up the ex-Muslim community, and that is a community that does not need to be divided up by people saying, "No, you're
The thing
wrong,
is,
you're wrong."
the thing is, I'm laughing about it because because so at first I heard that apparently Apostate Aladdin and Harris Sultan had a discussion and it kind of derailed and turned into a fight, and what happened was apparently I know for a fact that Harris Sultan really didn't like Aladdin, and
It's Aladdin.
after Aladdin attacked me, that became even more obvious. And I was in touch with Harris, but Harris was kind of wanting to give it a chance and have a conversation with him. So he was invited by Aladdin and went over
That's pretty
and
cool. That's pretty cool. They had a discussion.
and had a conversation. But I didn't watch the conversation. I only watched bits of it. But it was just Aladdin acting all righteous and self-righteous and judging and all that. And at some point, he started like blurting out and calling us idiots for saying take off your stupid mask and things like that. And then I guess after Aladdin did that, Harris just allowed himself to completely go off and then
How are we not watching? We should go through this tomorrow during your live stream.
we should. I watched his response. He made a video. He made a 15-minute video summarizing, breaking down what happened, and I watched it. And the thing is, I was watching it in the morning, and as I watched it, there was a part that I just completely lost it so much that I started losing my breath and getting dizzy. That's how I was caught off guard by Harris's description of Aladdin. He was I think he was talking during the live stream, and he was saying, "You are talking out of your behind." In fact, I can't even tell because you have a mask on. I don't know where the voice is coming from.
That's funny.
Things like that. It's just
That's funny
it
because
really
Harris a pretty nice guy. So it would be funny if he's.
That's the thing. I want to say. I mean, I can say this that Harris has been nothing but nice to other ex-Muslims. He has been nothing but helpful, nothing but willing to help other ex-Muslims. That's how I know him. I have been nothing but nice to other ex-Muslims. We have always been very open to help anyone who is out there, who is doing this, who is speaking about stuff like this. Even when both of us didn't like Aladdin at all, we still helped him because we thought, we should just help other ex-Muslims, even if we think they're pathetic losers and all that. And I even helped Aladdin despite him talking trash about me, despite people telling me, don't trust that guy, he's a weasel. And despite people telling me that he's talking trash about me and complaining about me privately all the time, I still thought, okay, fine, I don't care. I'll just help to amplify different ex-Muslim voices. But here he is now, non-stop attacking me, attacking Harris Sultan, attacking others. This is the kind of person that we're dealing with. Yeah. And I wish, and I think at this point, it was a mistake for me to ignore the red flags and to help a person like this, because I basically helped elevate this guy, and he's just nothing but a scumbag who likes to exploit the audience that he has, and likes to use us for clickbait, and then exploit the ex-Muslim audience that he builds around himself. Yeah. I think maybe I need to make a response video.
Yeah. Again, we can go. You could set up a live stream where we go through Harris's clip, and could even tell Harris. I don't know what their schedules are and stuff. Could even tell Harris and Apostate Ali-Din, welcome to join us. Welcome to join us and have a discussion about this. But yeah, I'm like you. I don't. It doesn't bother me if someone doesn't like me, as long as they're doing good stuff. I'm happy to help them as much as I can. But yeah, it's a different. Not liking you. I understand that. Someone could say, this guy's, I mean, my goodness, he's ripping up the Quran or something like that. You could be someone who doesn't like the methods and so on. But you got other people, if you're crossing that line into dividing up the ex-Muslim community at a really bad time to do so, you're kind of a dirtbag and need to be exposed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Good fishing in Turkey or Germany? What? Of course. I mean, Turkey, you got the Mediterranean right there.
Yeah, with all my hate for Turkey, I would have to say definitely Turkey. Yeah.
John says, hello, first time viewing a live stream. Here's my jizya. Also, Mike Winger is the type of guy to fart in a handkerchief. That does sound like something he would do.
What?
That one Jewish girl says, mashallah, atheist is helping me learn Arabic. Nice. Mashallah. That's funny. That one Jewish girl says, I'd love to be the IDF woman who gets to interrogate Abu Ubaidah. Oh, and by the way, AP, my most viewed short is a clip of you cosplaying a pro-Pali jihadist.
I'll check it out.
That's funny.
I'll check it out.
Rostam says, a Momin told me that Kabbalah will be great for the U.S., not because he supports her, but because he wants a woman to be the chief of the U.S. because, according to Mohomo, women make terrible rulers. That is a quote from Muhammad. Never will succeed the nation that makes a woman its ruler. Crusader General says, cancer will not be defeated by words. If you're talking about Islam here, I mean, yeah, you do have to stop invasions and so on, but words is exactly how you ultimately defeat Islam. You could deal with the terrorists and take out the terrorists. Guess what? Another terrorist is going to spring up in his place because of the ideology. You do ultimately need to expose the ideology. That's how you deal with it long term. And that's why, you've got government. You can't think that your governments are going to save you, or the police, or any of these. They can stop a terrorist attack or something like that. They cannot deal with the ideology. That falls to us. The next Zuckernick says, two more here. The next Zuckernick says, David is a huge Star Trek nerdy old man. I posted a screenshot of him wearing a Star Trek shirt in one of his videos. Yeah, and we know that's photoshopped. Shame on you, the next Zuckernick, for your blatant Photoshop.
And I told everyone about the X-Men posters. David has his room is full of X-Men posters everywhere.
Yeah, I've got all the X-Men who've ever been. I got their posters all over my stuff.
Yeah.
It's super cool. Which edition of the Quran would you recommend?
The first edition.
Yeah, I would say it kind of depends on what you're looking for. If you want something that's easy to read, the easiest reading I ever had was the... I've got it around here somewhere. Where is it? Oh, yeah, here we go. Oops. Knocked over some stuff. This one. This is the easiest reading because this guy writes clearly in English. So this is the Halim. This is the Oxford edition of the Quran. That's probably the easiest reading, but that might not be your criterion. You might be looking for the most literal translation or something like that. So you're gonna have to do a little. It's the same thing if someone asked me what Bible translation to go with. I'm like, it kind of depends. You want something that flows really well, or you want like literal, like word for word stuff. So anyway, those are.
Yeah, I would say that one, the Halim, is good to read, but it doesn't accurately represent.
No, he waters some stuff down. But if someone wants to read it all the way through, that's probably the easiest one to read through.
And it also makes the Quran sound like a book that is actually good and easy to read. That's not what the Quran is. The Quran is a terrible book.
It's awful.
It's terribly written, terribly organized.
Pure garbage.
Just making it good to read is already a distortion of the Quran.
The Quran is the Mike Winger of books. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough.
Solaria says, greetings, friend. Glad to catch you even the last of this. I truly hope the apostate community is able to properly organize, clean up, and stay strong. The reason I was talking about that is I've said repeatedly in live streams, AP, that as people feel like they're under attack, the tendency is to join a group, but those groups will then take on a different dynamic because now you're not joining a group because you like being in a group or for fun or something like that. You're joining it for protection because you feel like you're always being attacked. And once you join a group for your protection that's protecting you from something else, the tendency is for that entire group to move further and further away and become more radically different from those other groups and so on. And another tendency is you no longer tolerate differences of view. You divide over a difference of view because you're in aggressive mode. Someone says something you disagree with, you pounce on them and divide up the group. And so that's what everyone's going to be going through right now. Everyone's going to be attacking in every direction and sticking with their group, but the groups themselves are going to be dividing up over differences and so on. And it's just it's not a time for the ex-Muslim community to be divided up because a freaking walking clown emoji in a mask says, well, I don't like the way the apostate prophet does things. And my preferences are what the entire ex-Muslim community needs to rally around. My personal preferences, that's how things should work. You're a freaking narcissist, dude. Give it up.
I just don't think that there is such a thing as an ex-Muslim community, and never should be. It totally defeats the purpose of it. And it
It
creates...
should be your own group.
It specifically creates this thing where
It should be your own religion.
where
ex-Muslim
idiots who are completely out of touch with how Muslims actually live. This is the thing. Look, I have never, ever, never gotten a response from ex-Muslims who are living in the Muslim world, who said to me that kind of garbage stuff that Aladdin says, for example. That I hear only from objections like Aladdin's objections. I only hear such things from certain ex-Muslims who grew up in the West, who are very, very much leftist, very much aligned with the whole new atheist movement, and who don't actually live under Islam and around Islam, who don't actually experience Islam all the time. I've never, ever heard such objections from these snowflakes from people who actually live in the Muslim world. From those, I have heard nothing except thanks and praise.
Or wanting us to dial it up even more.
Yeah, yes. So why in the world would I care about this little baby? Man.
That one Jewish girl says Star Wars is better than Star Trek. They're both extremely nerdy. Mike Winger, the type of guy to unironically preach to the arachnids from Starship Troopers, and we know what happens next. Sadly, I don't know. But I'm guessing it doesn't go well. Authentic for debunking. Oh, okay. Authentic. That was a question about the Quran. Best for debunking. Yeah, Pickthall, but it's kind of written in Old English, but it's pretty darn accurate on the translation. Yeah, I'd keep a couple. Yusuf Ali, just because it's really common in English. Hilali Khan. Both the Yusuf Ali and the Hilali Khan add lots of parenthetical commentary to try and make things clearer or to try and steer people into certain interpretations. But just have a couple... Figure out the passages you want to examine and just have a couple of Qurans so you can kind of compare and contrast and get the gist of it.
I would not recommend Hilali Khan and Shakira. Like Shakira is a different thing. Like for music, maybe, I don't know.
I like
the Quran
Shakira.
Translation. But the Quran translation of Shakira is terrible. I would not recommend it at all.
It's probably the second easiest reading after the Halim version.
The Shakira one.
Yeah, it's easier reading than like Yusuf Ali or Hilali Khan. It's way easier to read. Shakir, are you drunk? He's a way better writer. Did you answer my fishing super chat? Yes, we said Turkey has good fishing because it's right there at the Mediterranean.
Yes.
Green Piece of Mind. Daniel Pikachu is like Scooby-Doo villain who later unzips his skin costume to reveal Boom Boom Room Muhammad. That'd be funny. We could have a situation like that. In fact, we kind of did that in an episode of Muhammad's Boom Boom Room where Moses was stoning Muhammad to death, but he actually revealed that he's actually Socrates at some point. Sarah says, so what would be a Quran that accurately represents the Arabic and English, disregarding flow or ease of access? I don't know. I like Pickthall.
Arbery.
Oh, you're
would say
talking about
Arbery.
non-Muslims. Yeah, you're saying non-Muslim translations.
Arbery is known to be an extremely literal Quran translation, which will try to really word for word tell you what the verse says.
Mm-hmm.
But it also, if you're going for that, it also makes it a little bit difficult to read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so grab an Arbery and a Pickthall, and then compare and contrast the translations. You should be good. Cars and Depth say, AP, do you like halva? My favorite flavor, pistachio. True fact, Ashkenazi Jews introduced halva to America, proof that they're Middle Eastern.
I do actually. I don't eat it anymore. Used to eat it a lot. I used to eat it during my military service in Turkey when I didn't like the food. It was disgusting. So I would just take a bunch of halva into my pockets and eat that.
You were never in the military. Come on.
I know. I'm just making it up.
You know, sounds tough though. It's good. Yeah. Back when I was a Navy SEAL, ladies and gentlemen, I ate that halva crap too. And finally, Banana Extra Jizya Ayatollah Khomeini's ghost censored my last super chat. Shame. How many
Shame.
tragedies till the West will awaken to the barbarism of Islam? Well, I think we are at the time when people are awakening, ladies and gentlemen. So I said it before, say it again. As depressing as things can be, these are actually good times for exposing Islam. People are waking up. Dude, anytime I post anything now, anywhere on Twitter, it's all these new people who are finding out about it. It's really interesting. In other words, not talking to the same people who have realized the problem in the past and have been paying attention for years. Now it's like new people who are figuring out that there's a problem. So these are good times, despite AP's constant, relentless pessimism. And finally, killing me softly with her rom songs, killing me softly. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're cutting out now, and we're going to be back tomorrow, right? What?
Wait, who was it in the comments? Because I mentioned Shakira earlier. People were saying hips don't lie. And somebody said straps don't lie.
People are funny. We have here Celeria. While we're at it, your opinion on the Usmani Quran? Oh, I'm not familiar with it.
What? Usmani Quran? T Usmani Quran?
Not familiar with it. All right, so we're going to be back on your channel tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Discussing dope stuff. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back on AP's channel tomorrow discussing dope stuff that will blow your mind. In the meantime, guys, learn the arguments that the Dawa guys are using to dupe people into not taking a stand against child marriage. Learn their arguments, learn their responses, and await further instructions.
And to always remember, hips don't lie.
Hips don't lie, and stay away from Islam.